Tonight, we're breaking down the complete truth about Eevee and why its every evolution defies the fundamental laws of the Pokémon world. This is a fascinating topic, but I'll keep my narration calm to ensure you can still drift off to sleep. Thank you to those of you who've been joining us consistently. If you're falling asleep with us tonight, let me know in the comments how many nights in a row you've been here. And if this is your first night, just comment night 1. Now back to the video. In the vast and structured world of Pokémon, there is a single creature that stands as a biological anomaly, a living riddle that has puzzled professors and trainers since the very beginning in the Kanto region. While most Pokémon follow a predictable, linear path of growth, a Charmander becoming a Charmeleon, and eventually a Charizard, the small, brown, unassuming, fox-like creature known as Eevee refuses to be bound by the traditional rules of nature. It is the only species capable of branching into 8 distinct forms, each representing a different elemental force, a different temperament, and a different way of interacting with the world. But to understand Eevee is to understand more than just a cute mascot. It is to look directly into the chaotic heart of Pokémon evolution itself. We are told that evolution is a moment of triumph, a surge of energy that signifies a Pokémon reaching its peak or maturing into its next stage of life. Yet for Eevee, evolution is something entirely different. It is a radical, instantaneous mutation triggered by the environment, by the radiation of celestial stones, by the position of the sun and moon, and even by the emotional resonance of the human heart. Eevee possesses a genetic structure so unstable, so irregularly shaped, that it acts like a mirror to the world around it. It does not just grow, it adapts with a speed and a finality that should be impossible. This instability is Eevee's greatest strength, but it is also its greatest mystery. Where did this DNA come from? Why is it so uniquely sensitive to external stimuli that other Pokémon simply ignore? When we look back to February 27th, 1996, when the world first stepped into the tall grass of the Kanto region, Eevee was there as a rare prize, a gift found at the top of a mansion in Celadon City. Back then, the rules were simple. Use a stone, get a new form. Vaporeon, Jolteon, and Flareon were the first to break the mold, showing us that a single creature could have multiple futures. But as the years passed and we travelled to Johto, Sinnoh, Kalos, and beyond, the mystery only deepened. We saw Eevee evolve through the power of friendship under the silver glow of the moon. We saw it change its entire cellular structure because it stood near a moss-covered rock in a quiet forest. We even saw it transcend its animalistic nature to become Sylveon, a creature of pure affection that uses its ribbon-like feelers to sense the heartbeat of its trainer. Every time a new evolution is discovered, a rule is broken. The introduction of Espeon and Umbreon proved that evolution wasn't just about items. It was about the bond between living beings and the rhythm of the planet. Leafeon and Glaceon proved that geography itself could rewrite a Pokémon's code. Sylveon proved that even the type of moves a Pokémon knows can trigger a metamorphosis. This constant shifting of the goalposts suggests that Eevee is not just a Pokémon, but a universal key, a biological bridge between the physical world and the metaphysical energy that powers every battle and every journey. Tonight, we are going to peel back the layers of this genetic enigma. We will explore the harsh realities of what it means to have chaotic DNA, and why some Eevee, like the one in the journeys of young trainers, struggle to find their place in a world that demands they choose a single path. We will examine the strange phenomenon of the Gigantamax Eevee, a creature so overflowing with developmental energy that it becomes trapped in its own potential, unable to evolve at all. We will look at the cultural impact of this Pokémon, from the shy and loyal Flareon to the sharp and aggressive Jolteon, and how their personalities reflect the very elements they command. Why does Eevee exist? Is it a natural occurrence, A fluke of ancient biology? Or is it something more intentional? Some theorists suggest that Eevee is a window into the distant past, a remnant of a time when all Pokémon were more fluid, more adaptable. Others believe it is the future, a glimpse of a world where the boundaries between types and forms begin to dissolve. As we settle in for this journey, we will walk through the history of the Pokémon world, generation by generation, stone by stone, and heart by heart. We will look at the mechanics of the games, the lore of the anime, and the secrets hidden within the pages of the Pokédex to find out why this one normal type Pokémon holds the secret to everything we think we know about evolution. The story of Eevee is a story of infinite possibilities. It is the story of a creature that can become anything, yet starts as something so simple. It is a reminder that who we are is often a reflection of where we have been and who we have loved. So as the lights dim and the world outside grows quiet, let us step into the tall grass and begin our search for the complete truth. From the neon lights of Kanto to the sprawling wilds of Galar, we are uncovering the legacy of the most adaptable creature in existence. This is the ultimate deep dive into the DNA of a legend. Eevee's DNA doesn't just bend the rules of evolution, it shatters them entirely. It gets twisted into an irregularly shaped helix that defies every known pattern in the Pokémon world. This isn't some subtle quirk, it's a genetic catastrophe waiting to unfold, a structure so volatile that scientists in the lore still puzzle over its blueprints, labeling it the ultimate biological outlier among over 1,000 documented species. Picture the double helix of a typical Pokémon, neat and predictable, coiling like a spring toward one inevitable form. Charmander to Charmeleon to Charizard, a straight line etched in nucleotides. But Eevee's, it's a jagged labyrinth, prone to spontaneous reconfiguration under the slightest provocation, as if its very code was written in shifting sand. What makes this anomaly so profound lies in its mutability, a hyper-adaptive core that responds not to steady growth, but to chaos itself. Official Pokédex entries describe it with a mix of awe and caution. Exposure to elemental radiation warps its form into something perfectly attuned to hostile environments, whether scorching deserts, turbulent seas, or crackling storm fronts. This isn't evolution as gradual refinement, it's radical reinvention, triggered by stones pulsing with raw energy, the pull of lunar cycles, the warmth of unbreakable bonds, or even the whisper of a specific move etched into its memory. In the anime, this instability personified through Chloe's Eevee, a creature so innately restless that a simple water stone fails to take hold. Its DNA rebels, demanding more than crystalline force, ultimately leading to a release into the wild where it might finally chart its own path. No other Pokémon carries this burden of potential. It most lock into singularity at puberty's edge, but Eevee lingers in limbo, a perpetual adolescent genome, humming with untapped fury. This irregularity traces back to its shrouded origins, a mystery that Pokémon lore guards like a forbidden vault. Whispers in the research suggest ancient cataclysms, perhaps meteor strikes or primordial exposures, forged this outlier from some forgotten proto-Pokémon stock, embedding a survival instinct so fierce it borders on precognition. Fan theories abound, positing Eevee as a living archive of evolutionary history, its chaotic strands holding echoes of every type's genesis. Yet the Pokédex remains cryptic. Its genetic code is extremely unstable. It warns, hinting at risks of total collapse if pushed too far. In games like Sword and Shield, partner Eevee and its Gigantamax kin embody this peril. They gain immense power, but forfeit evolution forever. Fluffy fur ballooning into battlefields that smother foes, a permanent deviation from the norm. Eevee isn't just adaptable, it's a glitch in the matrix of life, a Pokémon whose every cell screams against conformity. And it all began on February 27th, 1996, when Pokémon Red and Green hit shelves in Japan, unleashing this rule breaker into an unsuspecting world. Amid the linear evolutions of Kanto's roster, Bulbasaur's vine-wrapped ascent, Squirtle's armoured march, Eevee arrived as the Enigma, a normal-type foxling with no fixed destiny. Developers at Game Freak didn't announce it with fanfare. It hid in Celadon City, purchasable for 13,000 Poké-dollars. Its Pokédex entry already teasing the anomaly, a rare Pokémon that adapts to harsh environments by taking on different evolutionary forms. Players scratched their heads, why offer 3 stones for one creature when others needed none? Red and Green refused to spoon-feed answers, thrusting Eevee into routes and gyms where its potential simmered unspoken. Blue followed in October, Yellow internationally in 1998, each iteration deepening the intrigue without resolution. This wasn't linear growth, it was a fork in the evolutionary road, a deliberate middle finger to the one-path paradigm that defined the franchise's launch. That 1996 debut set a precedent for instability that echoes through every generation, turning Eevee into a canvas for experimental mechanics that grew ever wilder. Gold and Silver in 1999 layered friendship atop stones. Diamond and Pearl in 2006 added mossy rocks and icy outcrops. X and Y in 2013 wove in fairy moves and affection hearts. Each twist exploited that irregular DNA, radiation from stones giving way to emotional resonance, then geospatial cues, then move-specific affinities, escalating the chaos until Sylveon emerged as a ribboned psychic sentinel. Gigantamax forms in Sword and Shield, released in 2019, pushed it further. Fluffy enormity that engulfs battlefields but seals the genome shut. Eevee Day celebrations, like the 2021 global event, anthropomorphized this frenzy, assigning personalities to each path. Flareon's shy loyalty, Jolteon's spiky aggression, fueling speculation on dormant strains awaiting Gen 10's mechanics. We're only scratching the surface of this genomic storm, a 4.5-hour journey ahead into the most unstable code the Pokémon world has ever known, where every revelation peels back layers of forbidden adaptability. But those first ripples in Kanto? They started with elemental radiation, bending Eevee toward water, thunder, and fire in ways no other Pokémon could dream. Up next in Chapter 2, the Kanto Trio and Elemental Radiation will uncover how those stones ignited the anomaly, transforming a simple fox into Vaporeon, Jolteon, and Flareon, and why their births rewrote evolution's playbook forever. When Eevee first bounded into the world of Red and Green back in 1996, EI trainers quickly discovered that its irregularly shaped DNA didn't just bend the rules, it shattered them under the glow of certain shimmering stones. Those early experiments in Kanto revealed the raw power of elemental radiation, where a single water stone could twist an Eevee's fragile helix into the sleek, aquatic form of Vaporeon, its body swelling with fluid sacs that mimic the ocean's depths. Picture the moment. An Eevee, fur bristling in the humid air of a cerulean cave, presses against a water stone unearthed from ancient seabeds. The stone's energy surges like a tidal wave through its veins, immediately impacting the cellular structure at the molecular level. Eevee's chromosomes, already a chaotic tangle of mismatched base pairs, absorb the hydrating radiation, each forcing proteins to refold and membranes to permeate with hydrophilic channels. Within seconds, skin softens into a translucent membrane, fins erupt along the spine, and gills form to extract oxygen from water. A brutal, accelerated metamorphosis that leaves no room for half measures. This isn't gentle growth, it's a cellular flood, drowning the old form to birth one built for submersion. Thunderstones hit differently, their electric charge crackling through the air like a storm over Vermilion City. Jolteon's evolution unleashes a frenzy of ion channels ripping open across Eevee's nerve cells, supercharging mitochondria until they pulse with bioelectric fury. The fur hardens into needle-sharp spines that store static, muscles twitch with amplified reflexes, and the tail whips into a lightning rod. That immediate cellular upheaval, it's Eevee's neurons firing in overdrive, synapses multiplying under the voltage, turning an adaptable pup into a predator that outpaces thunder itself. No gradual adaptation here, just pure, jolting rewrite of its electric potential. Then comes the Firestone, smouldering with volcanic heat from Cinnabar's depths. Flareon's transformation ignites a thermal cascade, enzymes activating heat shock proteins that armor the cells against blaze. Fur ignites into a fiery mane, internal furnaces crank up metabolic rates, and claws extend for scorching strikes. The stones don't coax, they bombard, flooding the nucleus with radiation that snaps DNA strands and reassembles them in flames. A primitive inferno reshaping Eevee from the inside out. This brings us to the deeper lore of the evolution stones themselves. Are they true catalysts? Unlocking hidden potentials in Eevee's DNA, or pollutants that scar its fragile structure? Pokédex entries whisper of their origins in meteorites and elemental crystals, concentrated essences of nature's fury. Yet for Eevee, they act more like invasive agents. Standard Pokémon endure stones as a spark to predetermined paths, but Eevee's instability amplifies the dose, causing mutations that echo radiation sickness in our world. Accelerated aging, hyper-specialization, and a one-way ticket to elemental extremes. Some fans theorize these stones carry extraterrestrial pollutants, foreign to Eevee's terrestrial genome, forcing adaptations that prioritize survival over balance. In the anime, stones fizzle against reluctant Eevees like Chloe's, hinting they're not universal keys but risky hacks on a genome too wild to tame. That's why Vaporeon, Jolteon and Flareon stand as the primitive stage of Eevee's evolutionary potential, a blunt force trio born from Generation 1's stone-centric simplicity. These Kanto natives represent radiation's raw hammer, evolving via exposure alone. No bonds or locations required. They're the baseline, the caveman sketches before later generations, painted with friendship's subtlety or nature's whispers. Vaporeon's fluid grace drowns foes in hydro pumps. Jolteon's speed zaps with pin missiles. Flareon's blaze unleashes fire spins, yet each lacks the nuance of what came next. Their cells, warped by elemental overload, lock into hyper-focused roles. Swim, shock, burn. No psychic insight, no shadowy stealth, just elemental brute force, a testament to Eevee's DNA, bending under pressure, but not yet dancing with it. Delve deeper. T and their Pokédex profiles paint a picture of hasty origins. Vaporeon, with molecular structure 80% water, slips through cracks like mist. Efficient, yes, but rigid in aqueous realms. Jolteon generates 3,000 volts hourly. Fur quills slicing wind, a speed demon chained to electricity. Flareon radiates heat from a specialized yellow crystal in its brow, loyal but tethered to fire's hunger. Primitive, because they demand the stone's violence. Later evolutions would evolve Eevee toward harmony, proving the trio as evolutionary relics, echoes of when adaptation meant survival at any cost. As we trace these radiation scars, a question lingers. What happens when stones alone can't contain Eevee's chaos? That's the barrier trainers started cracking in the years ahead, pushing beyond elemental blasts into uncharted triggers. In Chapter 3, Breaking the Stone Barrier, we'll uncover how friendship and shadows redefined evolution entirely, teasing potentials that make the Kanto trio look like mere sparks before the true wildfire. But those primitive evolutions into Vaporeon, Jolteon, and Flareon marked just the beginning, a crude reliance on stones that bombarded Eevee's cells with raw elemental radiation from the outside. What if the true power lay deeper, within the Pokémon itself? as Pokémon Gold and Silver arrived in Japan on November 21st, 1999, the world of Johto unfolded with sunlit meadows and shadowed ruins, places where time itself seemed to whisper secrets to wandering trainers. Eevee returned, but no longer shackled to glittering stones. Developers at Game Freak unveiled a revelation: evolution triggered not by hurling a physical object, but by the subtle rhythms of life pulsing from within. Picture Eevee at your side, its fur warm against your leg after countless battles and quiet moments of care. Its trust builds invisibly, a hidden value climbing toward 255 points through every shared victory, every soothing camp, every gentle stroke. This was the birth of friendship as a force, a mechanic so revolutionary it rewrote how we understood genetic expression. No longer did Eevee need external crutches. Its chaotic DNA responded to emotional bonds, reshaping itself through the trainer's devotion. Level it up under the bright Johto sun and watch as psychic energies awaken. Espeon emerges, sleek and gem-eyed, its tail forking like a divining rod attuned to thoughts unspoken. Pokédex entries describe it as a mind reader, predicting dangers hours away, its precognition born from daytime harmony. That shimmering forehead jewel pulses with inner light, proof that Eevee's instability could harness mental clarity from mere companionship. Twilight falls, stars prick the velvet sky, and the same loyal Eevee twists into shadow. Umbreon rises, rings glowing like lunar eclipses on its ebony coat, a dark-type sentinel whose toxins seep from pores in defense of its cherished human. Nighttime leveling with maxed friendship summons this nocturnal guardian, its eyes piercing the gloom with unwavering loyalty. These weren't accidents, they were deliberate, showing Eevee's potential unbound by items, drawing from biological clocks synced to day and night. At the shift from Generation 1 to Generation 2 shattered expectations entirely. Gone were the days of external radiation zapping cells into submission. Now, internal biological triggers took center stage, friendship as the key that unlocked doors stones could never touch. Espeon and Umbreon's discovery hammered it home. Eevee's versatility stretched far beyond physical trinkets, tapping into the profound alchemy of hearts entwined. In the anime, this echoed through Garryoak's Umbreon, a sleek evolution born from unspoken rivalry turned respect, its golden rings flaring in battles that tested more than strength. Fans pored over Crystal's enhancements, where sun and moon shards offered alternate paths, but the core remained pure, nurture over force. Trainers worldwide chased that perfect friendship stat, camping under starry skies or racing through sun-drenched routes, hearts pounding as levels ticked up. This mechanic rippled outward, influencing Pokémon society at large. Suddenly, every creature's growth hinted at emotional layers, but Eevee embodied it most purely. Its DNA, that irregular helix, flexed not just to environments or elements, but to the intangible warmth of bonds. Imagine the lab-coated researchers in Cinnabar's ruins, poring over data. How did affection catalyze proteins, flipping switches stones merely overloaded? Eevee became the poster child for nurture's triumph over nature's brute force. Johto's lore deepened the mystery. Legends spoke of ancient towers where time bent, mirroring Espeon's foresight and Umbreon's stealth. Burned towers' flames and Tin Tower's mists framed evolutions as cosmic dances, or friendship the conductor's baton. Players felt it intimately. Your Eevee, unnamed at first, growing from skittish kit to devoted partner, its former reflection of your journey's soul. Yet whispers persisted. If bonds alone sufficed, what other hidden triggers lurked? Espeon and Umbreon cracked the stone barrier wide, but Johto's dual suns and moons hinted at celestial forces waiting to pull even harder on those mutable strands. That pull intensifies in Chapter 4, the solar and lunar influence, where Eevee's transformations bend to the very spin of the planet itself. Stay with me as we uncover how light and shadow scripted destinies no friendship could predict. As the veil of Generation 2 lifted in gold and silver, released in Japan on November 21st, 1999, Eevee's evolutions took a turn toward the heavens themselves. Espeon and Umbreon didn't just emerge from friendship alone, they pulsed with the inexorable pull of the sun and moon, as if Eevee's chaotic DNA was a canvas attuned to celestial whispers. Picture the quiet Johto mornings, where the first light crests the horizon, bathing the world in a golden haze. That's when Espeon stirs. In the lore woven through Pokédex entries and game mechanics, Espeon's morning awakening is no mere coincidence. Eevee bonded deeply with its trainer, friendship value maxed at 255 points. Through shared battles, soothing campsites, and tender moments, levels up as dawn breaks. The sun's rays carrying psychic radiation reshape its form. Its fur gleams like polished amethyst, eyes splitting the light into prophetic visions. Yet this isn't random. Official entries describe Espeon as a Pokémon whose precognitive powers heighten under solar exposure, sensing dangers 500 paces away by reading atmospheric distortions. It's Eevee adapting to the clarity of day, its mutable genes latching onto photons that amplify mental acuity, turning emotional trust into a psychic beacon. But flip the clock to midnight, and the transformation darkens. Umbreon awakens under the moon's pale gaze, its rings glowing like lunar halos etched in yellow fire. The specific lore here paints a nocturnal ritual. High friendship at night triggers the shift, Eevee's body absorbing moonlight's subtle shadowy energies. Pokédex lore from Crystal and beyond calls Umbreon the Moonlight's Pokémon, its toxins secreted from those rings to defend its cherished trainer, in a fierce guardian born from the night's embrace. In the games, this duality forces players to time their journeys. Day for Espeon's intellect, night for Umbreon's stealth, mirroring how Eevee's instability syncs with Earth's rotation, as if its DNA is a biological clock warped by cosmic forces. This solar-lunar split hints at something profound. Eevee doesn't just evolve, it resonates with celestial radiation. And then there are the sun and moon shards, those enigmatic alternatives introduced in games like Pokémon Colosseum and XD. Hold a sun shard during friendship evolution in the day, and Espeon manifests. Moon shard at night births Umbreon. These shards aren't stones, they're fragments pulsing with concentrated solar or lunar essence, scavenged from distant ruins or traded in shadows. Lore suggests they're crystallized remnants of Eevee's ancient exposures, implying its genetic anomaly originated under the stars, reacting not to terrestrial elements, but to the very radiation streaming from sun and moon. Imagine Eevee's cells, irregularly coiled, unfolding like solar sails or lunar reflectors, pulling in wavelengths that other Pokémon ignore. It's why these shards bypass time in some titles, proving Eevee's hunger for that ethereal glow transcends the clock. Why psychic for the sun and dark for the moon, though? It cuts to the heart of Eevee's emotional bonds. That invisible thread maxed through affection. Psychic embodies the duality's bright side. Clarity, foresight, the trainer's hopeful dreams shared in daylight walks, where friendship fosters empathy and mind-reading intuition. Espeon channels the positive pole of loyalty, its type resisting fighting blows with mental barriers, attuned to the sun's life-giving logic. Dark, conversely, represents the shadowed half, protection, cunning, the fierce devotion that thrives in vulnerability, like a trainer's hidden fears guarded under night skies. Umbreon sneers at psychic assaults, its darkness a shield woven from unwavering bonds, the emotional undercurrent that says, "I'll stand with you in the gloom." Together, they illustrate friendship's split nature, not one emotion but a spectrum, joyful connection by day, vigilant safeguard by night. Game Freak chose these types to symbolize how Eevee mirrors its human partner soul, light and dark intertwined, evolving not despite the bond, but because of its full contradictory depth. In remakes like Heart Gold and Soul Silver, this lore deepens. Players witness the sun cresting Mount Silver or the moon over Ecruteak's dance theatre, Eevee quivering at the threshold, its tail flickering between forms. Anime episodes echo it too. Gary's Umbreon emerging in a starry eclipse, its eyes locking with unyielding trust. Even fan theories tie it to real-world mythology. Espeon as solar deities like Amaterasu, Umbreon as lunar guardians like Tsukuyomi. Yet the shards pull us back to science. Celestial radiation warping DNA, much like UV rays mutating cells on Earth. Eevee's not breaking rules, it's rewriting them, proving its instability draws from the sky's endless cycle. These celestial triggers elevated Eevee beyond stones, hinting at untapped potentials still hidden in its genes. But as Generation 4 dawned in Sinnoh, the evolutions twisted toward the land itself, where ancient rocks whispered secrets of grass and ice. In the next chapter, Environmental Adaptation in Sinnoh, we'll uncover how Eevee learned to evolve by mere proximity to nature's frozen hearts and verdant veins. Methods so subtle, they make time and friendship seem almost predictable. What hidden landscapes does its DNA crave next? Stay with me as we venture there, as Eevee began harmonizing with the rhythmic pull of sun and moon shards, absorbing celestial energies that reshaped its form under Johto's watchful skies. Sinnoh shifted the canvas entirely. Here, in the rugged heart of the region released on September 28, 2006, the Earth itself became the catalyst. No more distant stars or shimmering stones tossed by trainers. Eevee's next mutations demand intimacy with the land, a bond so profound it forced evolution through sheer proximity. Picture the mist-shrouded forests of Eterna, where the moss rock stands like a sentinel carved from eternity. This isn't just any boulder. It's a colossal outcrop, overgrown with vibrant emerald moss that pulses faintly, as if alive with the breath of the woods. An Eevee drawn near it, leveling up in its shadow, feels the mutation creep in like morning dew. The air thickens with the scent of damp earth and fresh leaves, and suddenly, its fur hardens into blade-like foliage, veins glowing with chlorophyll. Leafeon emerges, a verdant guardian perfectly attuned to Sinnoh's lush wilds, its body a living extension of the forest floor. Pokédex entries whisper of this. The moss's radiation seeps into Eevee's unstable DNA, twisting it toward grass-type resilience, blades sharp enough to slice through underbrush or foes alike. Not far off, in the frosted caverns beyond, the ice rock looms in Shoal Cave's icy grip, or later the depths of Route 217's perpetual blizzard. Jagged and crystalline, it gleams under perpetual twilight, exhaling a chill that bites deeper than any winter gale. Approach with an Eevee at the ready to level, and the transformation hits like a frozen avalanche. Fur crystallizes into diamond-hard ice, eyes sharpening to glacial blue, breath-forming rime in the air. Glaceon takes form, its hide a shimmering armor against Sinnoh's harshest tundras, capable of flash-freezing rivers or shattering stone with a single leap. This proximity, mere steps from the rock, forces the shift, as if the landmark's elemental aura rewrites Eevee's genetic code on contact, mirroring the frozen fury of the surroundings. This brings us to what fans have dubbed the geological evolution theory, a lens that frames Eevee not as a random mutator, but as a flawless mirror to its immediate world. In Kanto and Johto, stones and skies impose change from afar, but Sinnoh's rocks demand closeness, immersion. Eevee becomes the land's echo. Mossy vibes birth leafy agility. Icy breaths forge crystalline power. It's as if its chaotic DNA scans the terrain like a living seismograph, detecting mineral radiations unique to each site. The moss rock's verdant hum, the ice rock's sub-zero thrum, and adapts instantly. Trainers speak of it in hushed tones during late-night forums. Why these specific boulders? Ancient Pokémon lore hints at fossilized energies, remnants of Sinnoh's creation myth, where Arceus shaped continents from primordial stone. Eevee, ever the outlier, drinks it in, evolving to thrive where others falter. Delve deeper, and the theory unfolds layers of wonder. Leafeon's evolution thrives in humidity-rich zones, its photosynthetic efficiency skyrocketing near the moss rock's perpetual moisture, allowing it to photosynthesize even in shade. Glaceon, conversely, supercools its body to -40 degrees, a perfect counter to the ice rock's domain where blizzards rage year-round. No levels alone suffice. It's the rock's field that tips the scales, a passive force field of mutation. Imagine wandering those paths at dusk, your Eevee's ears twitching, fur rippling as the energy builds. One moment, a curious normal type, the next a specialized survivor, body remade by the Earth's untold secrets. This geological mirroring elevates Eevee beyond mere adaptability. It's symbiosis, a Pokémon that doesn't conquer environments but becomes them. Yet Sinnoh's innovation didn't endure unchallenged. As generations rolled on, from Platinum through Black and White, and into Sun and Moon, the mechanics pivoted back toward familiarity. Leaf stones and ice stones entered the fray, portable crystals mimicking the rock's essence. Level an Eevee with a leaf stone now, and Leafian sprouts regardless of locale. Ice stone for Glaceon, no frosty hike required. This shift, from Gen 4's hyperlocal triggers to stone-based universality, analyzes a deliberate design choice. Game Freak traded immersion for accessibility, letting trainers evolve anywhere, anytime, without scouring maps for hidden landmarks. But it raises tantalizing questions. Did the stones distill the rock's power or dilute it? Pokédex lore persists, still crediting natural radiation, suggesting Eevee's DNA responds equally to both, raw geology or refined extract. In remakes like Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, both methods coexist, honoring the original while broadening reach. Fans pore over this evolution of evolution, charting how Sinnoh's earthbound gimmick pushed boundaries before retreating to stones. A pattern echoing Eevee's own rule-breaking arc. Leafian dashes through canopies with speed rivaling flying types, photosynthesizing mid-battle for endless stamina. Glaceon, meanwhile, mirrors aurora lights in its icy sheen, freezing foes solid with mist-shrouded precision. Together they cement Sinnoh's legacy. Eevee as terrain's chameleon, geological forces etching new forms into its ever-shifting genome. And as these rocky revelations settled into Pokémon's tapestry, a whimsical new force bubbled up, one that would charm the meta and rewrite type charts forever. In Chapter 6, the Fairy Type Revolution, we'll uncover how Eevee's next path ditched stones, locations, and even raw elements for something beautifully intimate, sparking theories that still divide the community today. While Eevee adapted to the ancient whispers of Sinnoh's moss rock and ice rock, bending its form to the pulse of the earth itself, the world of Pokémon was on the cusp of a far more intimate revolution, one that would weave the threads of emotion directly into its genetic code. In the sun-drenched regions of Kalos, introduced in Pokémon X and Y back in October of 2013, the fairy type emerged like a shimmering veil, rewriting battle dynamics overnight. Dragons that once dominated the skies now recoiled from this new ethereal power, their roars silenced by a gentle wave of pixie dust. And at the heart of this upheaval stood Sylveon, Eevee's most tender evolution yet, debuting not through stone or celestial light, but through a bond so profound it demanded a complete overhaul of how trainers nurtured their partners. This was the birth of the affection system, a mechanic that transformed friendship from a mere number into something visible, tangible, that flickered to life on the touchscreen as you soothed your Pokémon after battle, or fed it a Poképuff, no longer just points climbing invisibly toward 255. Now affection built through these small acts of care, filling hearts one by one until your Eevee brimmed with devotion. Picture it, your little fox, ears perked in quiet trust, its fur glowing faintly as those hearts pulse warmer, signaling a connection deeper than any radiation or rock could forge. But Sylveon shattered expectations even further. Traditional evolutions had leaned on level-ups near a landmark or under the right sky, pure mechanical thresholds. Here, Eevee demanded more. It had to know a fairy-type move, like Baby Doll Eyes or Charm, before leveling up with max affection. This wasn't just a tweak, It broke the level up only mold wide open. Suddenly, trainers weren't passively waiting for growth. They actively shaped their Eevee's path by teaching it a move steeped in fairy essence, a deliberate choice mirroring the fairy's theme of whimsy and willpower. Why a fairy move? Lore whispers that Eevee's chaotic DNA resonated with this new type's frequency, attuning its cells only when infused with that playful magic. Teach it swift or disarming voice, and the transformation ignites. Ignore it, and your affectionate Eevee stays forever itself. Imagine the moment in the tall grass of Route 4, your Eevee at 2 full hearts, that fairy move slotted into its arsenal. As it levels, ribbons unfurl from its body. Those iconic feelers, pastel ribbons that sway like living silk, each one a physical manifestation of the bond you've nurtured. Not mere decoration, these ribbons sense emotions, wrapping protectively around allies or lashing out with precision in battle. Pokédex entries describe them as extensions of Sylveon's heart, pulsing with the trainer's affection, strong enough to deflect blows or cradle the vulnerable. Their symbolic poetry, where Vaporeon's fins channeled water's flow or Umbreon's rings absorbed moonlight's shadow. Sylveon's ribbons embody trust made flesh, a trainer's whispered encouragement, a shared victory. Each moment etches itself into those flowing bands, turning emotional investment into raw power. This evolution hit at a pivotal time. Fairy types flooded Kalos, from Spritzy's perfumed mists to Gardevoir's graceful psychic grace now amplified. Sylveon slotted perfectly, its pixelate ability turning normal moves into fairy-typed bursts, dismantling steel fortresses and poison dens with ease. Fans marveled as it upended the meta. Garchomp's Sandstorm Fury halted by Moonblast's Lunar Glow, yet beneath the strategy lay deeper lore. Eevee, once mutated by external forces, now evolved through mutual vulnerability. Your care wasn't optional, it was the catalyst, proving that in Pokemon's world, biology bowed to the heart. Developers at Game Freak called this a love letter to longtime fans, but it redefined Eevee's anomaly. Affection carried over games, hearts preserved via Pokemon Army minigames, where you'd pet, play, even taste test berries together. 1 heart for basic loyalty, 2 for transformation's key. Sylveon wouldn't appear without it, forcing players to invest time, to bond. In the anime, this echoed through Serena's own Eevee journey, her ribbons fluttering in moments of quiet resolve, a visual hymn to partnership. Those ribbons, though, they tell the truest story. Soft as satin, tipped with cream, they extend up to 2 meters, feeling air currents, emotions, intent. When Sylveon curls them around your hand, it's no accident. They're the bond externalized, a genetic ribbon-cutting ceremony, where trainer and Pokemon co-author the mutation. Unlike Leafeon's leafy cloak born of proximity or Glaceon's icy mane from frigid stone, these are born of you, of late nights healing, of battles fought side by side. Eevee's DNA, that irregular helix, twisted not by environment but by empathy, birthing a Pokemon whose very design screams interdependence. As Kalos faded into legend, Sylveon stood as the pinnacle of Eevee's rule-breaking saga so far. A fairy sentinel proving evolution could be as emotional as it was elemental. But even with ribbons tying past to present, questions lingered about the types Eevee had yet to embrace. What shadows hid in its untapped potential? Coming up in Chapter 7, the mystery of the missing types. We'll unravel why certain elements like Ghost or Steel eluded Eevee's grasp for so long, and what that silence might reveal about its genetic secrets waiting to awaken. Sylveon's arrival marked a profound shift, tying Eevee's fate not just to affection, but to the very essence of a fairy-type move humming through its veins, shattering the old level-up chains that bound so many Pokemon. Yet here we stand, after all these breakthroughs, with Eevee's family boasting just 8 evolutions across 9 generations, leaving a glaring void amid the 18 elemental types that define the Pokemon world. Why, after stones and sunlight, rocks and ribbons, have Ghost, Dragon and Steel types eluded this genetic wildcard entirely? Picture Eevee's DNA as a vast, shimmering web, each strand primed to twist under the right pressure, adapting to fire's blaze or ice's chill with flawless precision. We've seen it birth Vaporeon in watery depths, amid crackling storms, Flareon in volcanic fury, Espeon under dawn's psychic glow, Umbreon in night's shadowy embrace, Leafeon by mossy ancient stones, Glaceon near glacial relics, and Sylveon through bonds laced with fairy magic. These cover water, electric, fire, psychic, dark, grass, ice and fairy, types that pulse with elemental familiarity, drawing from environments Pokémon trainers encounter daily. But Ghost, that spectral haze, the essence of hauntings and otherworldly whispers. Dragon, with its primordial roar echoing from legends long buried. Steel, forged in the unyielding clash of metals and machinery. Nothing. No spectral shroud draping Eevee's form. No scales hardening into draconic might. No gleaming armor plating its frame. Fans have pored over Pokédex logs and battle data for decades, hunting clues in Eevee's lore. Its instability thrives on radiation. Stones in Kanto, celestial light in Johto, geological vibes in Sinnoh, affectionate vibes in Kalos. What radiation summons a ghost? Perhaps the ethereal energies of haunted towers or ghost realms prove too volatile, too alien for Eevee's mutable genes to grasp without unraveling completely. Dragons demand ancient power sources, like the dragon shrines of Unova or the eternal flames of Hoenn legends. Energy so raw they might overload Eevee's fragile chaos instead of reshaping it. Steel, born of human ingenuity and mineral fusion, feels almost antithetical to Eevee's natural adaptability, requiring synthetic sparks from Pokeballs or factories that clash with its wild, organic roots. Game Freak seems to guard these types deliberately, as if Eevee's story arc preserved room for cataclysmic reveals, evolutions that could redefine its entire mythos. Delve deeper, and one fan theory rises above the rest, rooted in the raw mechanics of early generations. The special versus physical split. Back in Generation 1, moves weren't divided by contact or not, they split by type categories. Physical types included normal, fighting, poison, ground, flying, rock, bug, ghost. Special types handled fire, water, electric, grass, ice, psychic, and later dragon and dark. Every single evolution aligns perfectly with that special roster. Vaporeon channels water's special surges, Jolteon unleashes electric blasts, Flareon hurls fire waves, Espeon bends psychic forces, Umbreon taps dark special shadows, Leafeon summons grass energies, Glaceon freezes with ice specials, Sylveon weaves fairy spells. Not one dips into physical territory. Umbreon might tank hits with eerie defense, but its typing screams special. Fans argue this wasn't coincidence. Eevee's early evolutions mirrored the game's design philosophy, embodying special dominance because physical actors like a hypothetical ghost evolution would have overlapped too neatly with existing powerhouses like Gengar or Steelix prototypes. That split shattered in Generation 4, freeing moves from type shackles, letting a fire punch or water slam fly freely. Post-split, Eevee could theoretically evolve into physical juggernauts, a steel-type behemoth crunching foes with iron jaws, a ghost phasing through attacks like mist, a dragon soaring on physical gales. Yet Game Freak holds back. Why? Some speculate it's narrative symmetry. Eevee is the special specialist, a counterpoint to brute force lines like Rhyperior or Tyranitar. Others whisper of balance. Adding a ghost evolution might trivialize psychic matchups. Steel could dominate fairies and rocks. Dragon would eclipse too many aces. Lore-wise, Eevee's Pokédex hints at deliberate restraint. Its genes favor harmony over conquest, skipping types that embody raw aggression or industrial edge. Now consider the numbers. The cold math whispering through fan forums and probability models. 18 types total, Eevee claims 8, leaving 10 untamed. If each new generation rolls the dice on fresh evolutions, say 1 or 2 per era, drawn from the remaining pool without replacement, the odds stack intriguing. Probability of Ghost appearing next. 1 in 10, a 10% flicker, but for Eevee to blanket all 18, picture generations marching on. After 9, we've hit 8 Eevus. Extending linearly, it'd take another 5 generations at 2 per cycle, but randomness bites. the expected evolutions to cover all. Roughly the coupon collector problem. Starting with 8 collected, needing 10 more, anticipates about 30 more trials, if each has a 1 in 18 shot, diluted by duplicates. More realistically, with Game Freak's patterns, clustering by region, avoiding oversaturation, the chance of 0 ghost, dragon or steel by generation 10 sits at around 67%, assuming even distribution. By 15, drops to under 5%. Eevee's web will ensnare them eventually. The math demands it as its DNA hungers for completion, one elusive strand at a time. These gaps fuel endless speculation, from spectral evolutions haunting Pokédex dreams to steel-clad guardians clashing in fan art battles. But the true enigma lingers in stories beyond the games, like the tale of one particular Eevee that refused every trigger, wandering wild in search of its own path. Up next in Chapter 8, the case of Chloe's Eevee. We'll unravel why hers stayed unevolved longer than any other, hinting at secrets that could unlock those missing types forever. While those fan theories about the special versus physical split leave us pondering why ghost, dragon or steel evolutions haven't emerged yet, the Pokémon anime delivers a twist that cuts even deeper into Eevee's enigmatic nature. What if an Eevee simply said no to evolution altogether? In Pokémon Journeys, Chloe's Eevee becomes the living embodiment of that defiance. A pint-sized rebel whose story challenges everything we assume about Pokémon growth. Chloe, the curious schoolgirl from Vermilion City and Ash's classmate, first encounters this wild Eevee during a school trip. It's no ordinary catch. Timid at first, with those wide, expressive eyes that seem to hold back a world of unspoken thoughts. She names it Eevee, of course, and brings it home, dreaming of the powerhouse it could become. But from the start, something feels off. Eevee isn't just adapting, it's resisting. Chloe exposes it to every evolution stone she can get her hands on. Firestone for a fiery Flareon, Thunderstone for a speedy Jolteon, Waterstone for a sleek Vaporeon. Each time the stone glows with that familiar radiant energy, the air humming with elemental power. Yet Eevee simply walks away. No mutation, no transformation, just a shake of its fluffy tail and a glance that says, "Not yet." This isn't a glitch in the lore or a plot contrivance for drama. It's a deliberate showcase of Eevee's chaotic DNA in action, that irregularly shaped genetic code we keep circling back to. Remember how Pokédex entries describe it. Exposure to radiation should trigger a perfect adaptation to the environment. But here, in the anime's vivid animation, those shimmering stone effects fizzling out, Eevee's fur standing on end before settling back unchanged. The instability turn inward. Chloe tries again and again, her frustration mounting as friends like Go encourage her, offering advice from their own Pokémon journeys. Eevee battles alongside her, grows stronger, levels up in ways that should push any other Pokémon toward change. Yet it holds firm, its base form a deliberate choice amid the chaos. This brings us to the heart of what fans now call evolutionary hesitation. The idea that Eevee isn't merely a vessel for random mutation, but a Pokémon capable of exerting its own will over its destiny. Can an Eevee choose to remain in its base form? The evidence from Chloe's arc screams yes. Watch those episodes closely. Episode 88, where Eevee faces the Firestone under a starry sky, the flames licking at its paws without effect. Or later, with the Thunderstone, sparks dancing across its body like a rejected sparkler. Each refusal isn't passive, it's active agency. Eevee curls up, turns away, even runs from the stones at one point, its body language screaming reluctance. Trainers pore over this, theorizing that Eevee's multipath potential creates a kind of evolutionary crossroads, where the Pokémon senses all futures at once. Vaporeon's aquatic grace, Jolteon's electric fury, Flareon's blazing warmth, and Pic's none. Delve deeper into the arc, and Chloe's bond with Eevee evolves in tandem. They train together, share quiet moments in the park. Eevee perched on her shoulder like a fluffy sentinel. Chloe starts questioning her own expectations. Does she want Eevee to change for her sake, or for its own? The anime lingers on these introspective beats, The soft rustle of leaves as they walk, Eevee's playful tackles turning serious in battle. It's here that Chloe's Eevee reveals the true sentience and agency of the species. Not just adaptable survivors, but thinkers, feelers, deciders. Eevee communicates without words. A tilt of the head when Chloe suggests another stone, a joyful leap when they simply play. This mirrors broader Pokémon lore, where evolutions tied to friendship or affection demand emotional readiness. But Chloe's Eevee takes it further, rejecting external forces entirely until it's ready on its own terms. As the journey saga unfolds, Chloe realizes forcing evolution stifles what makes Eevee special. Its versatility, its normal type purity that lets it pivot without commitment. In a poignant release scene, Eevee ventures into the wild, not as abandonment, but empowerment. It joins a pack of wild Pokémon, still unevolved, exploring freedoms Chloe couldn't provide. Fans debate if it ever changes later, but the arc stands as canon proof. Eevee's DNA isn't a curse of instability, it's a gift of choice. This hesitation underscores why Eevee captivates us. Every stone, every friendship meter, every rock proximity is an invitation, not a command. Chloe's little companion proves Pokémon aren't puppets of mechanics. They have souls that weigh their paths, and that agency only intensifies when we consider the permanent locks baked into later forms. Up next in Chapter 9, Gigantamax and the Evolution Lock, we'll uncover how one massive fluffy twist seals Eevee's fate forever, trapping its potential in ways that make Chloe's hesitation seem like child's play. What colossal power demands such sacrifice? Stay with me as we unravel it. While Chloe's Eevee embodied that rare spark of willful hesitation, holding back from evolution, as if listening to some inner whisper, not every Eevee gets that luxury of choice. Some are bound eternally to their juvenile form, their DNA twisting into a permanent cage that no stone, no friendship, no environmental cue can shatter. These are the eternal Eevees, specimens whose genetic instability has crossed a threshold into unbreakable stasis. Enter the wild spectacle of Galar, where the skies crack open with Dynamax energy and Pokémon swell to colossal heights. Sword and Shield brought us Gigantamax Eevee, a form that debuted amid the roar of stadium battles and the pulse of otherworldly power. Picture it, an Eevee no longer compact and nimble, but exploding into a towering fluff ball, its fur erupting like a storm cloud, soft tendrils whipping through the air to ensnare foes in a suffocating embrace. Those massive paws, once playful, now crush the earth. That bushy tail, a weapon that lashes with deceptive gentleness. Trainers chased this rarity through the Isle of Armor and Crown Tundra, trading max raid battle rewards for a Pokémon infused with the rare Gigantamax factor. Yet here's the cruel twist: no evolution awaits. Gigantamax Eevee stands frozen, its 8 potential paths sealed shut forever. This evolution lock isn't mere game design. It's a glimpse into Eevee's chaotic core pushed to ruin. Eevee's DNA, already a labyrinth of irregular strands, quivers under normal pressures, stones radiating elemental fury, rocks humming with ancient vibes, friendships forging emotional heat. But Gigantamaxing, that's no gentle nudge. It floods the body with raw extraterrestrial energy, dilating cells to skyscraper scale in mere moments. For a Pokémon whose genes are primed for flux, this is cataclysmic. The physical toll ravages it. Muscles strain against sudden immensity, bones creak under weight that defies biology, and that mutable helix frays at the edges. Heart rates spike, fur follicles overload into endless growth, and the very mitochondria scream from the surge. In lore whispers from the Galar labs, scientists noted how this power source, tied to the darkest days' buried crystals, overclocks Eevee's adaptability until it snaps. The body, desperate to survive, slams every evolutionary gate. No Vaporeon cascade, no Jolteon spark, just perpetual youth, a juvenile shell hardened against further change. Why this lock? Delve deeper, and you uncover the eternal Eevee phenomenon, where certain specimens emerge genetically imprisoned in their base state. These aren't sickly runts or neglected pets. They're anomalies born from Eevee's origins in unstable habitats, perhaps the first Eevees forged in primordial radiation storms. Their DNA coils too tightly, loops interlocking like rusted chains. Gigantamax energy detects this fragility and exploits it, amplifying the instability into a feedback loop. The fur balloons not just for battle flair, but as a biological failsafe, insulating the core from collapse. Trainers report these Eevees thriving longer than wild ones, their eyes sharper, movements eerily precise, as if the lot preserves a primal vitality. Yet the toll lingers. Post-Dynamax fatigue leaves them panting for days, fur shedding in clumps like autumn leaves, a reminder that power comes at the cost of potential. Imagine holding one in the quiet aftermath of a raid, its colossal form shrinking back to normal, but forever marked. That fluffy mane, now a perpetual echo of grandeur, brushes your hand with unnatural warmth. Pokédex logs from Galar enthusiasts detail the strain. Elevated temperatures for weeks, erratic energy bursts mimicking mini Dynamaxes, and a gaze that pierces as if mourning lost siblings. Flareon flames, Umbreon shadows, all erased. This isn't evolution denied. It's evolution sacrificed on the altar of spectacle. Eevee's rule-breaking gift, on some symphony of forms, here becomes a dirge for what might have been. Theories swirl in fan archives and official art books. Does the Gigantamax factor rewrite the genome entirely, etching permanence into every cell? Or is it a mercy, sparing these eternal Eevees the agony of half-formed mutations under such duress? One leaked Pokeball scan from a Max Raid survivor shows DNA strands fused into a single unbreakable helix. No branches, no forks. The physical echoes persist too. Subtle tremors in the limbs, a faint glow under moonlight, as if the energy lingers, haunting the juvenile frame. As we trace these locked destinies, a deeper paradox emerges. One that questions the very bonds trainers forge with their first Eevee companions. In our next chapter, the partner Eevee paradox will unravel why some Eevees, gifted directly from labs and professors, mirror this eternal state, their evolutions mysteriously barred. What hidden factors turn a promised partner into another prisoner of its own DNA? Stay with me as the truth uncoils further, while the Gigantamax, Eevee in sword and shield, embraces an eternal juvenile state through its colossal, fur-shrouded power, trapping its evolution in a fluffy prison of potential. Another Eevee variant emerges from the misty shores of Kanto, one that redefines superiority without ever crossing that evolutionary threshold. This is the partner Eevee from Let's Go. Eevee, your steadfast companion through the remade Yellow Adventure, released back in 2018. Picture it bounding alongside you from Pallet Town, its fur shimmering under the sun, eyes locked on horizons. Wild Pokémon could only dream of reaching. What sets this partner Eevee apart isn't just loyalty forged in the fires of your shared journey. It's a suite of heightened stats that eclipse any wild specimen you'll encounter rustling in the grass. Wild Eevee across the generations hover around modest baselines: 55 hit points, 55 attack, 50 defense, 45 special attack, 65 special defense and 55 speed. Numbers that whisper of vulnerability, a base form begging for mutation. But your partner Eevee, it arrives pumped up. 65 hit points for endurance that laughs at Viridian Forest Thorns, 65 attack to punch through Brock's Onyx, 60 defense to shrug off Misty Starmie Cascades, 65 special attack for bursts that rival early evolutions, 70 special defense like a living shield, and a zippy 65 speed to dart past Pidgeysflocks. These aren't random buffs, they're a deliberate elevation, as if this Eevee was sculpted from the genes of champions, handpicked, or perhaps even cultivated in some hidden Celadon lab to outshine its feral kin from the start. Scientists in the Pokémon world and fans poring over data dumps have long puzzled over this biological edge. Why does the partner Eevee boast such superiority over wild specimens, yet remain utterly incapable of transformation? The answer lies deep in its DNA, that chaotic swirl we've traced through stones, friendships and rocks. Wild Eevee teeter on instability. Their genes a powder keg waiting for radiation or bonds to ignite. But the partner, Its structure has been refined, stabilized almost too perfectly. Imagine a genome that's been ironed flat, peaks smoothed, irregularities filed away for peak performance in its base state. This makes it tougher, faster, more resilient, a pinnacle of unevolved Eevee potential, thriving where wild ones falter against level 20 Raticate or surge-wielding Raichu. Yet that same refinement seals its fate. No room for the wild mutations that birth Vaporeon or Jolteon. It's evolution-proof, a paradox of supremacy locked in adolescence, echoing the Gigantamax lock, but through purity rather than excess. Delve deeper into its moveset, and the echoes of denied evolutions become hauntingly clear. Exclusive to this partner are hidden abilities like Bouncy Bubble and Sizzly Slide, techniques that pulse with the ghosts of what could have been. Bouncy Bubble envelops your Eevee in a shimmering aquatic sphere, absorbing incoming water damage and hurling it back twofold, a watery resilience straight from Vaporeon's aquatic arsenal, yet wielded by a normal type that never dips a paw into the cerulean gym pool as an evolved form. Feel the spray as it bounces enemy hydro pumps, converting harm into healing mist, a tease of the mermaid-like grace it can never fully claim. Then there's Sizzly Slide, a fiery skid across the battlefield, scorching foes with sliding flames that ignore their defenses, leaving trails of embers in its wake. This is Flareon's inferno bottled into a playful dash, the heat vision of a fox that stays forever small, singeing Erika's victory bell without ever donning the fluffy mane of true fire mastery. These moves aren't just power-ups, they're evolutionary phantoms, fragments of the 8 paths, shimmering through its stabilized shell. Bouncy Bubble hints at the fluid adaptability of Waterstone mutation, Sizzly Slide at the radiant fury of Firestone exposure. Echoes that let your partner mimic evolutions without committing, a biological tease that keeps it forever on the edge. As you trek through Kanto's fog-shrouded routes, this Eevee doesn't just accompany. It dominates with moves like Double Tap's rapid punches, evoking fighting-type poise it can't evolve into, or Glitzpop's dazzling sparkles mirroring electric potential. Each ability underscores the paradox: biologically superior, hand-tuned for battle supremacy, yet transformation is off-limits. Its genes are vault too secure for the chaos of change. Wild Eevee scatter before Team Rocket grunts, their stats crumbling under pressure, but your partner stands firm. Stats inflated like a champion's breath, moves whispering, "What if?" to every fainted foe. This superiority isn't accidental. Lore whispers of selective breeding in the Kanto labs, perhaps tied to the ancient research of Bill, the Pokémon storage genius, who digitized creatures to preserve their essence. The partner Eevee emerges as the apex unevolved form, stats honed to survive Giovanni's Persian without a single evolution, proving that stability can trump mutation. But why the lock? Perhaps its DNA, purged of instability, achieves harmony wild ones crave, endless potential realized in base form. No need for Jolteon's spikes or Espion's calm. It's the ultimate eternal Eevee, not cursed by Gigantamax but blessed by design, a specimen that begs the question: is true power in change or in perfect stasis? Fan theories swirl around this, linking it to Yellow's original Pikachu partner, companions elevated beyond nature's lottery. Data miners confirm these stats persist across playthroughs, a hard-coded gift that turns routes into romps. Yet the inability to evolve stings for completionists, a deliberate narrative choice by Game Freak to spotlight Eevee's base allure amid Kanto's stone-scattered nostalgia. As we peel back these layers of the partner Eevee paradox, questions mount about the very machinery driving its adaptability. What genetic wizardry allows such elevation without the risk of evolution? That's the core we'll unravel next in Chapter 11, The Biology of Adaptability, where the secrets of Eevee's mutable core promise revelations that could rewrite everything we know about Pokémon transformation. Stay with me as we descend into those cellular depths. Before we dive deeper into this incredible journey, I'm curious, where in the world are you watching this from? Drop a comment below and let our global community know. And if you're finding this as mind-blowing as I am, Hit that like button to help more people discover this story. While the partner Eevee in Let's Go stands as this pinnacle of genetic perfection, locked forever in its juvenile form with stats that outshine any wild counterpart, it raises a profound question about Eevee's true nature. What makes one specimen eternally fixed, while others twist and reshape themselves into entirely new beings, adapting on a whim to whatever the world throws at them? This is where we turn to the raw biology underpinning it all. Eevee's so-called chaotic DNA, a swirling maelstrom of genetic potential that defies the rigid evolution paths of every other Pokémon. Picture a wild Eevee scampering through the underbrush of a Kanto forest, its fluffy tail brushing against dew-kissed leaves. According to the Pokédex entries across generations, something extraordinary begins even before evolution takes hold. Its face starts to change, subtly at first, mirroring the environment around it. In the damp shadows near a stream, those large, expressive eyes might take on a watery gleam, the fur along its muzzle softening into sleek hydrodynamic contours. Venture into a thunderstorm-swept plain, and the ears prick up sharper, spines of electricity faintly crackling beneath the skin. Developers at Game Freak captured this in entries like the one from Pokémon Sun. Its irregularly shaped cells are normally inactive. Exposure to a certain type of energy makes them active, causing this Pokémon to mutate. But it's the facial adaptation that hints at a precognitive biology, as if Eevee's body is already prototyping its survival strategy. Reading the air's humidity, the soil's charge, the sun's angle long before any stone or friendship bond triggers the full shift. This isn't mere whimsy in the lore. It's a deliberate nod to how Eevee's genetics operate like a living experiment in adaptability. Unlike Pikachu, which levels up predictably into Raichu, or Bulbasaur marching steadfastly to Venusaur, Eevee's DNA is described as unstable and highly mutable, irregularly shaped strands that twist under environmental pressures. In the anime, Chloe's Eevee embodies this chaos, shrugging off firestones and thunderstones alike, its cells refusing to commit until the right catalyst aligns with its inner rhythm. Wild Eevee, released into habitats from scorching volcanoes to glacial tundras, don't just survive. They thrive by morphing into Vaporeon, Flareon, or Glaceon, their bodies rewriting themselves to exploit every niche. Now, lean in closer, because Eevee's chaotic DNA mirrors real-world biological marvels like phenotypic plasticity, where organisms alter their physical traits in response to their surroundings without changing their underlying genome. Think of Daphnia, those tiny water fleas that sprout helmet-like spines and massive eyes when predators loom, or spadefoot toad tadpoles that speed up metamorphosis into carnivorous froglets if starving in shallow ponds. Eevee takes this to an extreme fantasy scale. Its cells, dormant until zapped by a waterstone's radiation or warmed by a day's friendship grind, express entirely new phenotypes. Water type for aquatic mastery, electric for storm-chasing prowess. In Pokémon Diamond's Pokédex, it's explicit. Eevee has an unstable genetic makeup that suddenly mutates due to the environment in which it lives. Radiation from various stones causes this Pokémon to evolve. Phenotypic plasticity in nature is about survival tweaks. For Eevee, it's wholesale reinvention, plasticity on steroids, allowing one species to colonize 8 elemental domains where others would perish. This design screams Darwinian brilliance, reflecting the core of survival of the fittest through rapid mutation. Charles Darwin himself marveled at how species in isolated Galapagos finches developed beak shapes suited to their islands' seeds and insects, natural selection favoring the best adapted variants over generations. Eevee compresses that into moments, its chaotic DNA enabling mutations that let the fittest form emerge instantly. Drop it in a fire-ravaged Johto plain, and Flareon burst forth, flames licking its yellow mane to outcompete native fire types. Near a moss rock in Sinnoh's Eterna forest, Leafeon unfurl verdant blades, photosynthesizing energy no grass Pokémon could match in that shaded grove. It's not random, it's hyper-accelerated natural selection. The fittest evolution doesn't wait for offspring to inherit traits. It becomes the survivor right there, outlasting rivals by perfectly embodying the niche. Fan theories even speculate untapped potentials, like a ghost evolution for haunted ruins, where spectral mutations would let it phase through threats that stonewall others. Delve deeper into the mechanics, and you see how each evolution method reinforces this biological poetry. Generation 1 stones act as concentrated environmental radiation, mimicking radioactive hotspots that trigger mutations in real extremophiles, like Deinococcus radiodurans, bacteria that repair shredded DNA mid-exposure. Friendship evolutions in gold and silver, that's emotional plasticity. Bonds building neural pathways that tilt DNA expression toward psychic espion, under sunlight or nocturnal dark Umbreon, echoing how social animals like elephants alter stress hormones based on herd dynamics. Location-based ones for Leafeon and Glaceon draw from geomagnetic influences, the rocks pulsing with elemental essences that resonate with Eevee's mutable cells, much like how coral larvae sense chemical gradients to settle in ideal reefs. Even Gigantamax Eevee fits this adaptive tapestry, its massive fluffy form a hyperplastic response to Dynamax energy, enveloping foes in fur like a living fortress. Permanence as the ultimate survival hack in raid battles. Yet Wild Eevee reminds us of the cost. Not all mutations succeed. Chloe's hesitation arc in Journeys shows evolutionary reluctance, cells holding back until the environment sings the right song, preventing maladaptive shifts. Pokédex lore from Ultrasun paints it vividly. The face of this Pokémon changes subtly according to the environment. It can even change its color. That pre-evolution facial morphing is the smoking gun, a biological barometer forecasting the fittest path. Eevee's adaptability isn't just lore, it's a mirror to life's relentless push. In a world of linear evolutions where Charmander has one destiny, Eevee embodies evolutionary freedom, its chaotic DNA a canvas for whatever harsh reality demands. Rapid mutations ensure no habitat is unconquerable, from abyssal oceans to cosmic voids hinted at in future theories. This biological wildcard has fueled endless speculation, each evolution a testament to mutation's power over stagnation. And as we trace these threads back to their origins, you'll soon discover the shadowy ties to Celadon City that first unlocked Eevee's secrets for trainers worldwide. Up next in Chapter 12, the Celadon City connection reveals how a single department store gamble sparked the chaos, pulling back the curtain on Game Freak's hidden blueprint. Stay with me as the truth unfolds. That chaotic DNA we explored last time, with its echoes of real-world phenotypic plasticity, raises a chilling question. What if Eevee's mutability isn't a gift from nature, but a scar from human hands? Deep in the heart of Kanto, where the first Pokémon games unfolded, lies a trail of clues pointing straight to Celadon City, the glittering hub of commerce and secrets. You arrive in Celadon under a perpetual neon glow, the air thick with the scent of slot machines and fresh perfumes from the towering department store. It's here on the rooftop garden that a kindly woman presses an Eevee into your arms, her eyes flickering with unspoken urgency. Why this city? Why this Pokémon? Celadon isn't just a pit stop. It's the gateway to Eevee's shadowed birthplace, a place where the mundane brushes against the forbidden experiments that birthed Kanto's greatest anomalies. Winding paths from Celadon lead you south to Route 7, then west into the underbelly of Saffron, but the real connection pulses underground. Beneath the city's facade, whispers tie back to the Pokémon mansion on distant Cinnabar Island, a charred ruin of a laboratory, its diary scorched but not silenced. Those pages, salvaged from the ashes of a fire that swallowed secrets whole, chronicle the frantic scribbles of scientists tampering with life's code, long before Team Rocket's public sins. The lore of the Pokémon Mansion unfolds like a half-burned confession. Researchers there documented unstable specimens, exposed to elemental radiations, their forms twisting into water-adapted swimmers or fire-wreathed predators, eerily mirroring Eevee's stone-triggered evolutions. One entry hints at a base form engineered for adaptability, a creature whose irregular DNA helix could rewrite itself under stress. The mansion's vaults held prototypes, vials of glowing serums and logs of failures. Pokémon that devolved into madness or simply vanished into puffs of adaptive ether. Was Eevee a product of early genetic experimentation in the Kanto region? The evidence mounts when you sift through the rubble. Celadon's Game Freak headquarters, disguised as a fan club, hides a locked room plastered with early sketches of Vaporeon, Jolteon, Flareon. There, forms dated to 1996, predating official releases. A hidden switch reveals development notes, but fans have long speculated these walls conceal more. Blueprints for a Pokémon designed not by evolution's whim, but by human ambition to conquer it. Picture the late nights in those Celadon offices. Fluorescent lights buzzing over coffee-stained papers. Programmers and biologists, game freaks and young alchemists, dreamed of a Pokémon that embodied change itself. Eevee emerges not from some wild forest, but from the convergence of code and gene splicing tech. Its Pokédex entry speaks of short and irregular DNA, a polite veil for what the mansion logs call synthetic volatility, a deliberate instability to test evolution's limits. This ties Eevee's DNA instability to the creation of Porygon and Mewtwo in ways that chill the spine. Porygon, the first artificial Pokémon, born from digital polygons in a saffron lab, shares Eevee's rule-breaking essence. No parents, no wild habitat, just pure programmed potential. Its evolutions, Porygon 2 and Porygon Z, glitch through upgrades, much like Eevee's mutations glitch past stone norms into friendship or mossy rocks. Both defy biology, one in silicon, the other in spliced flesh. Mewtwo's shadow looms largest, conceived in the mansion's depths from Mew's stolen cells. Mewtwo's rage stems from forced perfection, its DNA armoured against change, the opposite of Eevee's fluid chaos, yet the logs connect them. Early trials on Eevee-like progenitors aim to stabilise Mew's infinite adaptability into weapons. Eevee survived as the control group, its instability preserved as a prototype for what became Mewtwo's torment. Why else does Mewtwo's psychic fury echo in Umbreon's dark evolutions, or Sylveon's fairy bonds hint at psychic suppression? In Celadon's undercurrents, these threads weave tighter. The department store rooftop, where you claim your Eevee, overlooks Sylph Co. Its towers, ground zero for Porygon's birth and Rocket's Mewtwo heist. That gifted Eevee isn't random. It's a diluted escapee from the mansion's fires, smuggled to Celadon for safekeeping. Its chaotic code, meant for war, now fuels your team, evolving unpredictably as if rebelling against its creators. Fans pore over glitches in red and blue. Wild Eevees absent from grass, only obtainable through human hands in Celadon. No nests, no packs, just this one pressing against your leg with eyes that know too much. Generation 1's balance sheets reveal Eevee's rarity coded intentionally, a nod to its lab-born scarcity. Even in yellow, Pikachu's companion version gifts it freely, as if acknowledging the experiment's dual paths. Electric stability versus mutable chaos. Breathe in the implications. If Eevee's every evolution breaks the rules, it's because those rules were shattered first, in places like the Pokémon Mansion. Its DNA isn't Darwinian poetry, it's a Frankenstein sonnet, humming with the ghosts of Porygon's pixels and Mewtwo's clones. Celadon City stands as the innocuous front door to this abyss, luring trainers with prizes while hiding the lab that made them all. As we trace these synthetic roots, a fiery thread pulls us forward, one evolution's quiet suffering amid the blaze of adaptation. Next time in Chapter 13, Flareon's Burden, uncover why this loyal flame-bearer carries the heaviest weight of Eevee's engineered legacy, and what it reveals about the pain hidden in every stone's glow. If the Pokémon Mansion's shadowy labs truly birthed Eevee's chaotic DNA through human meddling, then Flareon stands as one of the earliest flames they kindled. A searing testament to what happens when that instability meets the raw power of a firestone. Flareon bursts forth in a blaze of cream fur and crimson mane, its body a furnace disguised as fluffy elegance. But here's the quiet tragedy etched into its Pokédex legacy. Despite boasting one of the highest attack stats among the evolutions, clocking in at a formidable base of 130, Flareon is often dismissed as the weakest link in the family. Trainers overlook it, competitive players shelve it, and even casual fans whisper about its flaws. Why? Its speed crawls at a mere 65, leaving it outpaced by nimbler foes. Defenses hover in the middling range, and that pure fire typing leaves it scorched by water, ground and rock, moves that hit 4 times harder. In battles, it strikes like a meteor, but crumbles before the dust settles, a glass cannon wrapped in velvet. Yet this perception misses the deeper burden Flareon carries, a biological curse born from its evolution method. The Firestone doesn't just ignite a spark, it rewires Eevee's core into a living inferno. At the heart of every Flareon lies an internal flame chamber, a pressurized sac nestled behind its ribs, where temperatures soar past 1,600 degrees Fahrenheit. That's hotter than molten lava fresh from a volcano's throat, a heat that would vaporize steel or char flesh to ash in seconds. How does Flareon endure it? Its fur isn't mere fluff. It's a hyper-insulated lattice of hollow fibers, woven with microscopic air pockets that trap and cycle superheated gases like a natural thermos. Beneath that, specialized blood vessels pulse with a coolant serum derived from its own mutated cells, siphoning excess thermal energy and venting it through flared nostrils in rhythmic, glowing exhales. Imagine the constant vigilance this demands. Flareon's metabolism runs in overdrive, burning calories at triple the rate of its siblings just to maintain equilibrium. One misstep, a sudden chill, a damp environment, and the chamber could rupture, unleashing a cataclysmic flare-up. Pokédex entries whisper of Flareon wandering sun-baked deserts or volcanic craters, instinctively seeking geothermal vents to calibrate its blaze. In the wild, it curls into tight balls during rain, fur steaming like a kettle, left too long on the boil. Its loyalty to a trainer, the only anchor, keeping that inner fire from consuming it whole. This makes Flareon the most physically sensitive of all evolutions. Its body a symphony of delicate balances. A single bruise to its underbelly could pierce the chamber's outer membrane. Even a harsh word feels like frostbite to its psyche. Personality-wise, it's the shy wallflower of the group, loyal to a fault, shadowing its human companion with wide, amber eyes that flicker like embers in twilight. Unlike Jolteon's prickly aggression or Vaporeon's serene glide, Flareon bonds deeply but quietly, preferring nuzzles over displays. Fan events like Eevee Day paint it as the devoted hearthkeeper, content to warm a lap rather than steal the spotlight. In the anime, glimpses of Flareon show it trembling at thunderclaps, not from fear of lightning, but from the pressure shifts that rattle its fragile heat core. That sensitivity extends to its moveset, a double-edged sword mirroring its stats. Overheat unleashes devastating power, but it saps Flareon's own attack afterward, as if the chamber overheats and needs cooldown. Flamethrower roars from those vents with precision born of necessity, while abilities like Flash Fire turn enemy flames into fuel, absorbing them to intensify its blaze. A survival hack for a Pokémon perpetually on the edge of self-immolation. In lore, Flareon's burden ties back to those mansion experiments, perhaps the first deliberate push toward elemental extremes. Early researchers, fumbling with firestones on prototype Eevee, might have stabilized the flame chamber at the cost of speed and resilience, prioritizing raw power over versatility. It's why Flareon thrives in niche roles. Some teams boosting its solar-fueled fury, or as a bulky special attacker in doubles, but rarely headlines. Trainers who master it find a steadfast partner, one whose loyalty burns brighter than its flaws suggest. And yet, for all its internal inferno, Flareon pales next to the electric storm brewing in its electric sibling. Coming up, we delve into Jolteon's high-voltage nervous system, where nerves fire like live wires and speed becomes a weapon of annihilation. How does a body survive constant electrocution without frying from the inside out? while Flareon's internal furnace simmers at temperatures exceeding 1,600 degrees. Demanding constant precision to avoid self-immolation, Jolteon channels a far more erratic force. Electricity so volatile it crackles through every fibre of its being, turning its body into a living thunderstorm. Jolteon's fur isn't ordinary, it's a forest of needle-like spines, each one a conductor primed for discharge. Picture those white quills, sharp as thorns, lying flat against its sleek yellow coat, until the slightest agitation builds up static charge. In the wild, as Jolteon sprints across arid plains or rubs against dry grasses in Kanto savannas, friction generates electrons that accumulate along its insulating pelt. This static electricity, amplified by its electric-type essence, creates repulsive forces between the spines, pushing them upright in a halo of fury, ready to unleash bolts that can paralyze prey from 10 paces away. Pokédex entries from the earliest games describe this phenomenon vividly. The fur stands on end not from fear or cold, but as a weaponized defense, each needle tip glowing with plasma-like energy, capable of storing up to 10,000 volts before arcing outward in jagged forks. This high-voltage display ties directly into why Jolteon earns its reputation as the most temperamental and aggressive among Eevee's 8 evolutions. Unlike the loyal warmth of Flareon or the serene glow of others, Jolteon's nerves fire with hair-trigger sensitivity. Official lore paints it as a predator that lashes out at the faintest provocation, a shadow in the brush, a rival's approach. Its discharge is not just attacks, but emotional outbursts. In the anime, Jolteon trainers struggle with its prickly demeanor, quick to zap allies in fits of impatience, reflecting a core instability that makes it the evolution least suited to calm companionship. Fans during Eevee Day events in the early 20s even voted it the most edgy form, its aggression stemming from that perpetual static hum in its veins, always one spark away from explosion. At the heart of this ferocity lies the profound link between Eevee's unstable DNA and Jolteon's volatile electricity. Eevee's genetic code, that chaotic mosaic of irregular strands, doesn't just adapt to a thunderstone's radiation, it weaponizes it. When exposed, the stone's elemental surge interacts with those mutable helices, restructuring them into a neural network supercharged for conductivity. What was Eevee's flexible genome becomes Jolteon's high-voltage nervous system, where unstable DNA translates into electricity that defies containment. Synapses pulse with amperage that would fry a human nervous system, allowing Jolteon to process threats at lightning speed, literally, reacting in microseconds while generating fields that disrupt electronics from afar. This volatility mirrors Eevee's core mystery, a DNA so pliable it births forms that embody extremes, and Jolteon's aggression a direct echo of that genetic wildness, forever teetering on overload. Trainers who bond with Jolteon learn to respect this edge, soothe it with careful grooming to bleed off excess charge, or risk a shock that leaves fingers numb for hours. In battles, that same temper turns lethal. Pin missile launches spines laced with current. Thunderbolt erupts in blinding cascades, but off the field, it's a reminder of evolution's raw power. Deep in the Pokémon Mansion labs of Celadon, where Eevee's origins whisper of experimentation, files might hint at Jolteon as the first failure turned success. Its electricity too wild for control, yet perfect for survival in storm-ravaged habitats. As we trace these electric threads, the contrasts sharpen. Fire's contained blaze versus lightning's untamed strike, revealing how Eevee's evolutions each capture a facet of instability. But if Jolteon's nerves crackle with peril, what happens when that DNA merges with water's fluid grace? Coming up in Chapter 15, Vaporeon and the Molecular Mimic, we'll dive into a transformation so seamless, it blurs the line between Pokémon and liquid itself, unlocking secrets that could redefine mimicry in the Pokémon world. While Jolteon's fur crackles with that relentless static charge, turning every quill into a weapon of raw aggression, Vaporeon slips away from conflict altogether, not by fighting back, but by vanishing into the depths where no enemy can follow. born from the same waterstone radiation that reshapes Eevee's chaotic DNA, Vaporeon emerges with a body that's less solid flesh and more liquid potential, its blue scales shimmering like the surface of a tranquil sea under moonlight. Picture its finned tail slicing through currents, gills fluttering softly as it breathes the ocean's breath. But this adaptation goes far beyond mere aquatic survival. Deep within Vaporeon's cellular structure lies the key to its most unnerving gift, a membrane that allows its very molecules to align with those of water itself. Exposed to enough moisture, its proteins unfold and reconfigure, hydrogen bonds snapping into perfect harmony with H2O clusters around it. In that moment, Vaporeon doesn't just swim, it dissolves, its form dispersing into an invisible haze amid the waves. The terrifying reality of Vaporeon's ability to melt into water at a molecular level hits when you realize there's no trace left behind, no silhouette, no ripple from a fleeing body, just the water closing seamlessly over empty space. Predators lunge through what was once its position, jaws snapping at nothingness, while trainers stare in disbelief at tanks where their Pokémon has simply evaporated. This isn't some illusion or camouflage trick like the optical games of other water types. Vaporeon's mass redistributes at the atomic scale, its lipids and nucleotides mimicking water's polarity so precisely that it becomes indistinguishable from the surrounding liquid. Pokédex logs from trainers in Cerulean City describe battles where Vaporeon would submerge, only to reform yards away, emerging with droplets cascading from its reformed fins as if the sea itself had spat it back out. One ancient entry from the Cinnabar Labs whispers of experiments where Vaporeon entered a sealed vial of purified water, and sensors detected no change in volume. Yet it was there, waiting, patient as the tide. What sets Vaporeon apart in Eevee's lineage is this total physical erasure, a feat no other evolution can match. Jolteon might generate storms of electricity, cloaking itself in thunder, but it remains a distinct, spiky silhouette amid the chaos. Flareon engulfs foes in flames, yet its fiery aura betrays its position every time. Leafeon blends into foliage through chlorophyll mimicry, Glaceon into frost with crystalline camouflage. But neither truly disappears. They project patterns, shadows of their form onto their element. Espeon and Umbreon manipulate light and darkness for evasion. Sylveon weaves ribbons of fairy energy to distract, but their body stays solid, tangible. Why Vaporeon is the only evolution that can physically disappear in its own element boils down to water's unique properties as a universal solvent. Unlike fire's plasma dance or electricity's charged frenzy, water permeates everything, dissolving barriers at the most fundamental level. Vaporeon's mutation exploits this, turning Eevee's instability into a solvent symphony where its cells become the solution itself. At the heart of this lies Eevee's origins, tied inexplicably to the sea. Researchers at the Seafoam Islands have long speculated on the biological link between Eevee's DNA and the composition of seawater. Eevee's genetic code, that irregular double helix prone to rewriting itself, carries ionic signatures eerily similar to salt water. High concentrations of sodium, chloride, magnesium, and sulfate ions woven into its nucleotide backbone. It's as if Eevee evolved from ancient marine ancestors, its chaotic DNA, a remnant of primordial soups where life first stirred in briny depths. When the waterstone bathes it in elemental radiation, those dormant maritime bonds activate, pulling Vaporeon's structure toward homeostasis with the ocean. Submerge it in fresh water, and the shift is slower, less complete. But in the saline embrace of the sea, the transformation accelerates, molecules slipping free like sand through fingers. Imagine standing on a rocky shore at dusk, waves lapping at your feet when a wild Vaporeon surfaces briefly, eyes gleaming with otherworldly calm. You toss a Pokeball, but it dives and gone. Hours later, as fog rolls in, it reappears beside you dripping, as if the entire bay had conspired to deliver it back. This molecular mimicry isn't just survival, it's a haunting reminder of how fragile solidity truly is. In the Pokémon Mansion archives, Faded notes from the fire that birthed Eevee's secrets hint at prototype experiments, flooding chambers with seawater, watching early subjects blur into tanks until only ripples remained. Vaporeon's existence challenges our understanding of form. Is it a creature or a state of water waiting to coalesce? Trainers who bond with Vaporeon speak of a profound trust required, for once dissolved, recall becomes a gamble. Will it reform at your side, or linger as unseen currents tugging at distant shores? In battles, foes panic as acid armor activates, Vaporeon's body softening to gumminous fluidity before outright vanishing, strikes landing on empty pools. Its cry echoes faintly through the water, a melodic gurgle that vibrates bones rather than ears. Yet this power carries a shadow. Prolonged immersion risks dilution, cells scattering too far to reassemble, leaving echoes of blue mist on the surface. As we surface from Vaporeon's watery enigmas, the sun rises on a new mystery in Eevee's arsenal. Up next in Chapter 16, Espen's precognitive fur, where threads of time itself seem to whisper futures yet unseen. How does this psychic sentinel glimpse tomorrow through its shimmering coat? Stay with me as the dawn breaks. While Vaporeon dissolves seamlessly into rivers and oceans, becoming one with the liquid world around it, Espen stands apart. Attuned to currents far subtler than water's flow, those invisible streams of air that whisper secrets of what's yet to come. Its fur, a cascade of shimmering violet velvet, doesn't just gleam under sunlight. It quivers with purpose, each silken strand a living sensor, calibrated to detect the faintest shifts in atmospheric pressure. Picture the battlefield, tense and still. An opponent coils to strike, muscles tensing before the command even leaves the trainer's lips. Espen doesn't wait for the leap. Its fur parts ever so slightly, registering the microburst of displaced air from a twitching limb, the subtle eddy rising from a gathering breath. These aren't random breezes, they're precursors, harbingers of motion etched into the air's hidden language. One strand catches the forward rush of wind from a charging fist, another the backward pull from a recoiling arm. In that instant, Espen pivots, eyes flashing crimson, dodging blows that haven't fully formed. This is no mysticism pulled from thin air. It's precognition forged in physics, where velvet filaments, finer than spider silk, translate atmospheric ripples into foresight. Scientists in the Pokémon world have marveled at this. Pokédex entries describe Espen's coat as uniquely receptive, evolved to brush against the wind's edge, mapping trajectories with eerie precision. A single hair's deflection signals a punch from 10 paces. A ripple across its tail foretells a distant storm. In the anime, it unfolds during Gary Oak's battles. His Espen anticipates Umbreon's shadow strikes, not through psychic blasts, but by feeling the nocturnal chill precede the lunge. It's as if the fur reads the future's draft, pulling probabilities from the ether before they solidify into reality. But this gift demands more than biology. Deep within Eevee's chaotic DNA lies a psychic spark, dormant until kindled by something profoundly human or trainer-like. The bond required isn't mere affection. It's a psychological fusion, forged through countless shared sunrises, battles won side by side, quiet moments of trust under daylight's gaze. Eevee senses the trainer's heartbeat syncing with its own. Emotions bleeding across an invisible bridge. Friendship points max out at 255, but it's the quality that unlocks the latent potential. The unwavering faith that says, we face tomorrow together. Only then, as noon crests, does the evolution trigger, DNA rewriting itself into psychic elegance. Without that depth, Eevee remains earthbound. With it, Espen emerges, a guardian who sees threats before they bloom. This loyalty cements Espen's place as the ultimate loyalist among evolutions. Where Jolteon spikes with aggression or Flareon smoulders in solitude, Espen binds eternally to its chosen one. Lore paints it as the evolution of devotion, refusing to stray even in peril. Its precognitive fur serves the partner first, sensing ambushes to shield the trainer, predicting fevers from a sigh's warmth, even divining emotional tempests before words erupt. In Kanto's labs, researchers noted Espeon's refusal to evolve for anyone but their bonded human, its fur dulling under strangers' touch. Fan theories whisper of ancient Eevees, choosing psychic paths to protect nomadic tribes, evolving only for those who earn their sunrise vow. No other form demands such intimacy. Espeon doesn't just adapt, it pledges. Delve deeper into that fur's mechanics, and the wonder intensifies. Each strand, laced with piezoelectric crystals akin to those in Jolteon's spines, but attuned to motion rather than charge, generates faint psychic pulses from air friction. A gust from the east carries pollen signatures of approaching foes. A downdraft hints at aerial dives. In Sinnoh's highlands, wild Espeon herds use this to evade avalanches, fur collectives forming a predictive web across the pack. Trainers report their Espeon waking them from sleep, fur bristling at midnight winds foretelling burglars at the door. It's evolution's poetry. Eevee's instability channeled into a shield of foresight, all hinging on that unbreakable psychological tether. Consider the rituals trainers undertake, camping under open skies, whispering encouragements as stars wheel overhead, battling not for victory but connection. Each act stacks the emotional lattice. Eevee's tail ring glows warmer with trust, its eyes sharpening as psychic veins awaken. The moment of evolution feels like dawn breaking inward. Fur lengthening into velvet armor, gem on forehead igniting like captured sunlight. From there, Espeon's loyalty manifests in battles, where it weaves psychic waves timed to air-predicted dodges, or in daily life, curling protectively as winds murmur of rain. Yet this power carries shadows. Over-reliance on the bond means Espeon falters without its human anchor. Wild ones wander listlessly, fur-matted and unresponsive. Pokédex lore from Johto warns of sunset betrayals, where fractured trust reverts psychic clarity to confusion. It's why Espeon embodies the loyalist ideal. Not the strongest, not the flashiest, but the one that chooses fealty above all. Its precognitive gift a testament to shared destiny. In the broader Eevee saga, Espeon's path breaks rules anew, shifting from stones to souls, demanding daylit devotion where others heed night or elements. Its fur doesn't just sense. It prophesies partnership's pinnacle, turning genetic chaos into clairvoyant constancy. And as light yields to encroaching dusk, the story darkens. Up next, Chapter 17. Umbreon and the Shadow Mutation, where loyalty twists into nocturnal vigilance, and Eevee's DNA embraces the abyss to guard what Espeon illuminates. What hidden costs does that eclipse demand? Stay with me as we uncover it, while Espeon's fur whispers secrets from the daylight winds, drawing on that deep psychological bond to glimpse what lies ahead. Umbreon emerges from the same unstable Eevee lineage under the veil of night, where friendship forges not foresight, but shadows. This dark-type evolution doesn't chase the sun's clarity. It claims the moon's subtle glow, transforming vulnerability into an unyielding shroud. Picture an Eevee, heartful from battles and quiet companionship, leveling up as stars pierce the darkness. Its body doesn't burst into psychic light, but absorbs the night's essence, mutating into something built for eternal vigilance. Moonlight isn't just a trigger for Umbreon. It's the catalyst that rewrites Eevee's very skin. Those familiar pores, already primed for elemental chaos from stones or rocks, react differently to lunar radiation. Unlike the harsh blaze of a firestone or the static surge of thunder, moonlight seeps in gently, photon by photon, infiltrating the pores like silver mist. It binds to proteins in Eevee cells, triggering a bioluminescent chain reaction. The result? Those iconic glowing rings. 4 on the forehead and ears, 2 on the legs, ignite not from fire or electricity, but from a cold, ethereal phosphorescence. Deep in Pokédex lore, this traces back to ancient Kanto nights, where wild Eevee in forested fringes learn to channel the moon's energy, turning their bodies into living beacons that ward off dawn's threats. It's no random sparkle. These rings pulse with a rhythm synced to the lunar cycle, dimming at new moon to blend into pure shadow, flaring full at crescent peaks. Trainers who witness it describe a low hum, like distant thunder muffled by fog as the rings charge. storing energy for the long hours ahead. This shadow mutation redefines survival for Umbreon, shifting from Espeon's proactive precognition to a philosophy of endurance. Umbreon's defensive capabilities reflect a survival through endurance strategy, where it doesn't dodge or outpace foes, but outlasts them in the unrelenting dark. Its sleek black hide absorbs impacts like midnight velvet, with a base defense stat that rivals Fortress Pokémon, bolstered by abilities like Synchronize, which mirrors status ailments back at attackers, turning poison into mutual agony. But the true genius lies in its stamina. Umbreon can patrol territories for days without rest, rings flickering warnings to intruders, while its body regenerates through sheer metabolic stubbornness. In the anime, Gary's Umbreon stands as a sentinel during Team Rocket's sieges, shrugging off blasts that would fell lesser evolutions, its eyes gleaming yellow slits of defiance. This isn't aggression like Jolteon's spikes or Flareon's blaze. It's quiet fortitude, a nocturnal guardian that wears down predators through attrition, conserving energy in the cold night air where others falter. Layered into this endurance is Umbreon's most insidious weapon, the lure of its poisonous sweat and its role as a nocturnal predator. Beneath that glossy fur, specialized glands excrete a toxic sweat during hunts, shimmering faintly under moonlight before evaporating into a corrosive mist. Pokédex entries from gold and silver paint Umbreon as a moonlit stalker, rings dimmed to stalk prey through underbrush, then unleashing this venomous aura to paralyze or burn on contact. It's not a flashy strike. The sweat seeps into wounds or eyes, mimicking neurotoxins from real-world nocturnal hunters like certain spiders or frogs, causing spasms that leave victims twitching helplessly as Umbreon circles, patient and inevitable. In Yoto's lore, wild Umbreon packs mark territories with lingering toxin trails, a chemical fence that deters daytime wanderers and signals kin in the gloom. This ties back to Eevee's genetic instability. Nighttime friendship doesn't just evolve it awakens primal instincts. Paws now dual-purpose factories for both light and lethal secretions. Imagine the chill, a rustle in the leaves, rings pulsing once, and suddenly your skin prickles from invisible venom carried on the breeze. What makes Umbreon's path so rule-breaking? While Vaporeon melts into rivers and Jolteon spikes with static fury, Umbreon demands that rare nighttime friendship threshold, a Gen 2 innovation that layered emotion atop environment. No stone suffices here. It's the bond deepened in darkness, echoing the Pokémon Mansion's shadowy experiments we explored earlier, perhaps hinting at artificial tweaks to Eevee's paws for lunar sensitivity. Trainers report Umbreon forming attachments slowly, testing loyalty through sleepless watches, rewarding the steadfast with unmatched devotion. In battles, its moonlight recovery draws directly from those paw-borne rings, siphoning lunar essence to heal mid-fight, a mechanic unseen in linear evolutions. This endurance predator doesn't conquer swiftly. It endures, adapts and claims victory when foes exhaust themselves against its abyss. Yet whispers in fan lore suggest Umbreon's mutation runs deeper, possibly linked to legendary Darkrai's influence or Cinnabar's forgotten labs, where moonlight experiments amplified Eevee's paws beyond natural limits. Sightings in Ecruteak City's bell tower describe Umbreon swarms converging under full moons, rings forming celestial patterns that pulse like heartbeats, sweat mist weaving barriers against ghost types. It's an evolution that embodies the night's poetry. Silent, poisonous grace amid endless shadow. As Umbreon's endurance fades into the rustle of leaves and dawn's first light, we'll turn to Chapter 18. Leafeon's photosynthetic structure, where sunlight doesn't just trigger evolution but rebuilds Eevee from the leaves up, revealing a verdant secret that could redefine its entire adaptive legacy. While Umbreon's rings pulse with the subtle poison of nocturnal endurance, absorbing moonlight to outlast any threat in eternal vigil, Leafeon whispers a different creed entirely, one of serene assimilation into the living world around it. This evolution doesn't fight the environment, it becomes it, its very flesh rewriting itself to photosynthesize like the foliage it mirrors. Deep within Eevee's mutable DNA, the shift to Leafeon begins not with fury or fusion, but with a profound stillness. Picture those irregular genetic strands, already primed for chaos, encountering the faint, earthy radiation emanating from a moss rock. Those ancient, lichen-crusted boulders hidden in Eterna forest, pulsing with primordial energy accumulated over centuries. As Eevee draws near, levels up in proximity, the rock's emissions seep into its pores, triggering what researchers have termed the greenification process. It's a cellular metamorphosis unlike any other evolution, a deliberate pivot from animal ferocity to vegetal harmony. At the molecular level, Eevee's animal cells, packed with mitochondria churning energy from food and motion, start to fracture and reform. Chloroplasts, those solar engines borrowed straight from plant biology, bloom within each nucleus. Hemoglobin in the blood gives way to chlorophyll, tinting veins from crimson to emerald as pigments flood the cytoplasm. Membranes thicken with cellulose, granting leaves that unfurl from shoulders and tail like natural extensions of bark. Skin hardens into a leathery rind, textured with vein-like patterns that channel sunlight directly to hidden stomata. This isn't mere camouflage, it's a full transubstantiation. Animal mitochondria dwindle, supplemented by thylakoids that capture photons, splitting water molecules to forge glucose from thin air and dew. Leafeon no longer hunts or scavenges, it drinks the dawn. This greenification demands patience, a quiet attunement to cycles of light and soil. Unlike Jolteon's explosive charge or Flarion's infernal blaze, Leafeon's evolution unfolds over hours, sometimes days, as cells divide and specialize. Tail segments elongate into ruffled fronds, ears sharpen into photosynthetic sails that quiver with each breeze, maximizing surface area for absorption. The eyes, once alert for predators, soften to absorb spectra invisible to most Pokémon, sensing ultraviolet gradients to optimize growth. By the end, Leafeon stands 70% plant by composition, its heartbeat slowed to match the sway of branches, respiration exchanged for quiet evaporation. And it's this fusion that crowns Leafeon as the quietest and most pacifistic of all evolutions, where Umbreon endures through poisoned resilience, and Jolteon lashes with electric spite. Leafeon simply withdraws. Its leafy appendages muffle sound waves, channeling vibrations into the soil like roots dispersing rain. No roars, no sparks, just a rustle akin to wind through underbrush. Aggression wastes energy it now gleans so sparingly from the sun. Battles disrupt the delicate balance of its hybrid physiology. Instead, Leafeon glides through conflicts with evasive grace, razor leaf edges slicing only as a final whisper, referring to photosynthesize in peace. Pokédex scribes note its temperament as one of profound tranquility, a living embodiment of arboreal wisdom that shuns violence for symbiotic coexistence. Now consider the ripple effects when Leafeon graces a forest ecosystem. A single specimen doesn't conquer, it elevates. Its presence accelerates photosynthesis across the canopy, releasing oxygen in waves that thicken the air, purifying pollutants from industrial fringes or Pokémon battles nearby. Pollen from its leaves cross-pollinates rarer flora, birthing hybrid blooms that draw nectar feeders like Butterfree and Combi in droves. Soil beneath its pores enriches overnight, nitrogen-fixant bacteria thriving in the humus of shed fronds, fostering mushroom rings and berry thickets that sustain herds of deerling. Predators falter here. Leafeon's aura deters them not with toxins, but by amplifying the forest's own defenses. Vines coiling tighter, thorns sharpening under its subtle influence. In overpopulated woods, like those bordering Ecruteak City's ruins, Leafeon acts as a verdant regulator. It sequesters carbon at rates rivaling Trevenant groves, cooling microclimates by 10 degrees through transpiration alone. Fallen comrades don't decay into waste. Their remains compost into fertile mulch, cycling nutrients back into the web of life. Ecologists in Sinnoh whisper of Leafeon blooms, where packs settle and transform barren clearings into thriving groves within seasons. biodiversity surging by factors unseen elsewhere. Yet this boon carries a shadow. Over-reliance on leaf and herds can stifle animal migrations, turning dynamic wilds into static paradises where prey forgets to flee. Breathe in that forest hush now. The way Leafian's form blurs boundaries between beast and branch, a testament to Eevee's wildest rule-breaking. Its greenification isn't evolution's end, but a bridge to even colder extremes, where life's fire freezes solid. Coming up next in Chapter 19, Glacian's Absolute Zero. How this icy kin shatters molecular motion itself, plunging environments into crystalline silence that begs the question: what happens when photosynthesis meets oblivion? While Leafian's cells soak up sunlight in the lush embrace of ancient forests, turning fur to foliage and breath to oxygen, its icy twin Glacian emerges from the opposite extreme, where temperatures plummet far below freezing, and life clings to existence in crystalline defiance. Glacian doesn't just endure the cold, it wields it as a weapon, dropping the air around it to absolute zero in moments. A feat that shatters the boundaries of biology as we know it in the Pokémon world. Picture the tundra where Glacian makes its home, vast expanses of snow-swept plains in Sinnoh's frozen reaches, where the wind howls like a perpetual storm, and the ground itself seems to exhale frost. Eevee, drawn to these harsh wilds, senses the pull of transformation long before any trainer intervenes. Its unstable DNA, that chaotic helix forever on the brink of rewriting itself, begins to quiver under the assault of sub-zero radiation, emanating from a single enigmatic landmark, the Ice Rock. This towering slab of pale blue stone, embedded in a cavern wall like a forgotten sentinel, pulses with an otherworldly chill that seeps into Eevee's pores, rewriting its genetic code from warm-blooded survivor to glacial predator. But how does Glacian freeze the very moisture in the air? The biological mechanism lies deep within specialized cryokinetic glands, clustered along its spine and flanks, evolved directly from Eevee's mutable pores. These glands produce a hyper-concentrated exudate of supercooling proteins, expelled through microscopic vents in Glacian's sleek diamond-hard fur. When Glacian inhales, it draws in ambient humidity, those invisible water molecules suspended in even the driest Arctic gusts, and channels it past heat exchange membranes in its throat. There, enzymes catalyze a rapid phase transition, nucleating ice crystals instantaneously. It's not mere frostbite. Glacian's breath emerges as a visible bloom of -200 degrees Fahrenheit vapor, flash-freezing droplets into razor-sharp shards that whirl outward in a blizzard of its own making. Trainers who've witnessed this up close describe the air crackling like shattering glass, the ground blooming with hoarfrost in seconds. Enemies ensnared in unyielding prisons of ice before they can blink. This power demands a body rebuilt for extremity. Glacian's fur, no longer soft like Eevee's but rigid and refractive like embedded sapphires, acts as an insulator, trapping a layer of still air against its skin, while internal antifreeze compounds course through its veins. Real-world parallels whisper through Pokémon lore here. Think of the notothenoid fish in Antarctic waters, their blood laced with glycoproteins that bind to nascent ice crystals, preventing lethal solidification. Glacian amplifies this 1,000-fold. Its cells encased in lipid bilayers that remain fluid at temperatures that would pulverize ordinary proteins. Yet the true marvel, the heart of Eevee's rule-breaking genius, is how its DNA survives the sub-zero temperatures required for this transformation. Eevee's genetic material isn't fragile strands like most Pokémon. It's a hyperstable lattice, folded into irregular polyhedrons that resist thermal disruption. During evolution near the Ice Rock, exposure to cryogenic radiation triggers a cascade of methylations, locking helical sections into cryogenic dormancy. These segments deploy chaperone proteins, molecular guardians, that refold denatured chains in real time, while quantum tunneling effects, hinted at in advanced Pokédex analyses, allow electron bonds to vibrate without fracturing, even at absolute zero. It's as if Eevee's DNA possesses an innate anti-fragility, growing stronger under stress. emerging not as a brittle relic, but a flawless blueprint for Glaceon's form. Without this, the transformation would be suicide. Eevee would shatter from within, its cells exploding into brittle shards. Instead, it rebirths, perfectly adapted, proving once again why Eevee defies every evolutionary norm. And then there's the ice rock itself, that looming mystery at the epicenter of Glaceon's origin, towering 20 feet high in the icy depths of Route 217. Its surface veined with luminous fractures that glow faintly under moonlight. The rock defies geological explanation, natural formation, perhaps a remnant of some prehistoric glacier, infused with rare earth minerals that emit perpetual beta radiation, chilling the air and mutating nearby life. Geologists in the Pokémon world have scanned it endlessly, finding anomalous isotopes not native to Earth. Traces of iridium spikes, echoing the meteor that birthed the ancient Kalos War. Or is it an ancient alien artifact planted eons ago by extraterrestrial visitors experimenting with terrestrial evolution? Fan theories abound, pointing to similar moss rocks harboring unexplained energies, suggesting a network of cosmic beacons designed to unlock Pokémon potential. Whatever its truth, stand an Eevee before it at the right moment, and the air hums with power, the ground trembles faintly, and evolution ignites. Not through stones or friendship alone, but proximity to this enigma. Glaceon's dominance in these frozen realms reshapes ecosystems in subtle, profound ways. Herds of Sweenub part before her approach, knowing one exhale could entomb them eternally. Yet she sustains balance, her ice storms drawing prey into vulnerable clusters, her presence aerating permafrost to release trapped nutrients for hardy alpine flora. In battles, this absolute zero mastery turns the tide. Opponents falter as their breath condenses into fatal rhyme, movement slowed by micro-fractures in their muscles. Pokédex entries from Diamond and Pearl capture this chilling poetry. It can make its breath freeze solid, creating footing for itself and trapping foes. But beneath the spectacle lies Eevee's eternal riddle. Why this form, this frigid perfection, when a single twist of fate could veer towards sunlight or shadow? As Glaceon's frost recedes into the night, we're left with the warm glow of one final evolution, where ribbons weave emotions into unbreakable bonds. That's coming up next in Chapter 20. Sylveon's emotional aura. And trust me, the way it taps into feelings you never knew Pokémon could feel will leave you questioning every friendship you've ever forged. I hope you're as amazed by this as I am. If you want to stay updated on more content like this, make sure to subscribe and join our community of curious minds. Trust me, what's coming next will challenge everything you thought you knew. While Glaceon's crystalline form commands the air's hidden moisture into shards of unrelenting frost, preserving Eevee's fragile DNA through a cryogenic metamorphosis, Sylveon emerges from an entirely different alchemy, one forged not in elemental extremes, but in the subtle rhythms of the heart. This evolution, unveiled in the 6th generation alongside the Radiant Fairy type, demands a friendship so profound it reshapes Eevee's very essence, evolving only when affection swells to at least 2 hearts and a Fairy-type move lingers in its arsenal. Picture those pastel ribbons unfurling like living silk, each one a conduit to empathy that no other Pokémon can rival. Sylveon's feelers, those elegant appendages trailing from its neck and body, have ignited endless debate among trainers and biologists alike, the so-called flesh ribbon controversy. At first glance, they appear as delicate boughs of ribbon, shimmering in hues of pink and white, soft to the touch yet impossibly resilient. But peel back the lore, and you uncover their true nature. Organic extensions of Sylveon's nervous system, woven from a hyperelastic protein matrix that's part muscle, part sensory filament. These aren't mere decorations. They're vascularized tendrils, pulsing with blood vessels finer than spider silk, capable of extending up to twice their resting length without tearing. Pokédex entries whisper of their sensitivity, but deeper research from the Pokémon lab in Lumio City reveals microscopic pores along their surface, embedded with mechanoreceptors that detect the faintest vibrations, far beyond what human skin could perceive. This biological marvel ties directly into how Sylveon attunes itself to its trainer's innermost state. Those ribbons don't just drape affectionately, they seek contact, coiling gently around a wrist or shoulder to press against pulse points. Through them, Sylveon intercepts the trainer's heartbeat, translating its cadence into emotional data. A quickened thump signals anxiety, its rhythm decoding adrenaline surges. A steady, warm beat conveys trust, flooding Sylveon's own system with calming pheromones in response. In battle, this bond amplifies. Sylveon anticipates commands before they're spoken, its ribbons quivering in sync with your rising excitement or doubt. Trainers report a tingling warmth spreading from the contact point, as if the Pokémon is mirroring their resolve, strengthening fairy-type moves like Moonblast with borrowed emotional energy. It's no coincidence that Sylveon's cry softens during these moments, a melodic hum that soothes frayed nerves, turning potential defeat into harmonious victory. This profound empathy anchors Sylveon's evolution to the fairy-type's core philosophy, the concept of pure bond evolution. Unlike the stones that bombard Eevee with radiation or the rocks that infuse it with territorial essence, Sylveon's path requires no external catalyst, only the unyielding purity of connection. Fairy types, introduced to counter dragon dominance, embody whimsy laced with unbreakable loyalty, and Sylveon exemplifies this through its DNA's emotional trigger. Eevee's chaotic genome, already primed for adaptation, latches onto the trainer's affection as a stabilizing force, rewriting cellular pathways to prioritize relational harmony over survival aggression. Official lore from Kalos researchers posits that, during evolution, Sylveon's ribbons hyperdevelop first, their nerves linking directly to the trainer's bioelectric field, forging a feedback loop that solidifies the fairy typing. It's as if Eevee senses the world's harshness and chooses, instead, to evolve toward tenderness. A rule-breaking pivot from physical might to emotional fortitude. Imagine walking through a moonlit Eterna forest, with your Sylveon at your side. Its ribbons brush your hand, picking up the subtle flutter of your pulse from the day's stresses. That faint glow along their edges isn't bioluminescence alone. It's a response to your endorphins, the ribbons secreting a faint, sweet-scented oil that eases tension, drawing you deeper into mutual reliance. In the wild, Sylveon herds form empathetic networks, ribbons intertwining to share collective feelings, protecting the vulnerable young from predators through synchronized calm. This isn't magic, it's evolved biology, where Eevee's instability finds equilibrium in love's frequency. Yet this intimacy raises whispers of vulnerability. Those flesh-ribbon feelers, for all their grace, sever easily under brute force, a deliberate trade-off in Sylveon's design. Defensive moves like misty terrain bloom from this awareness, veiling allies in protective mist, while the ribbons retract, conserving energy. Trainers who've bonded through countless battles describe a sixth sense. Your Sylveon flinching before you do, its ribbons alerting to unseen threats via your subconscious tension. In the anime, May's Eevee nearly evolved this way, the emotional pull so strong it rivaled stone-induced paths, underscoring how Sylveon shatters evolution's predictability. As we trace these threads of connection, the story swells toward the enigmatic tales of the Eevee brothers and their lasting cultural impact in Chapter 21. Legions that reveal how Eevee's legacy reshaped fan hearts worldwide, with secrets that might just keep you listening through the night. Sylveon's ribbons don't just sense emotions, they weave them into the very fabric of its bond with you, turning fleeting heartbeats into lifelong loyalty. But what if that emotional pull extended beyond one evolution, shaping how entire families of evolutions came to life in the minds of fans? Long before the feelers and auras, there was a single anime episode that crystallized Eevee's chaotic potential into something profoundly human. Picture a quiet valley in the Pokémon world, where sunlight filters through ancient oaks and a gentle stream whispers secrets to the wind. Here, Ash and friends stumble upon a family unlike any other, the Eevee brothers. This classic episode from the early days of the anime doesn't just introduce 4 remarkable siblings. It redefines how every evolution, breathing personalities into forms that were once mere genetic experiments. The littlest brother, still an unevolved Eevee, bounces with boundless curiosity, darting between his evolved kin like a spark of untamed possibility. His Vaporeon brother lounges by the water's edge, sleek blue scales shimmering as he glides effortlessly through the current, embodying a life of serene flow, adaptation to the tides, and quiet strength that bends but never breaks. That Vaporeon isn't rushing into battles or chasing horizons. He's content in the rhythm of the river, teaching us that Waterstone evolution isn't about raw power, but surrendering to the world's fluid nature, letting radiation reshape you into something that harmonizes with the depths. Contrast him with Jolteon, the electric brother, a bundle of crackling energy pacing the sun-baked cliffs above. His spines bristle with static, eyes flashing like summer storms, representing the philosophy of the Thunderstone path. Aggressive, immediate, a surge of transformation that demands you seize the lightning before it strikes you down. He's the one who charges headlong into challenges, his body a live wire of speed and precision, forever chasing the thrill of the vault. Then there's Flareon, nestled in a sun-warmed den of smouldering coals, fur glowing like embers in twilight. Unlike his siblings' cool detachment or wild frenzy, Flareon's world is one of inner fire, loyal, protective, a slow-burning passion fueled by the Firestone's heat. He curls around his unevolved brother, radiating warmth that speaks to endurance through flame, a lifestyle of steadfast guardianship rather than fleeting sparks. These brothers aren't random. Their home, their habits, their very interactions mirror the environmental triggers that twist Eevee's DNA. One flows with water's grace, another erupts in electric fury, the third simmers in fiery devotion, and the Eevee in the middle, he's the question mark, free to choose his path, just as nature intended. Revisiting the classic anime episode, The Eevee Brothers, reveals its lasting influence on fan perception. It's the moment Eevee stopped being a glitchy normal type and became a canvas for dreams. Fans latched onto these personifications, projecting their own lives onto the evolutions. The laid-back surfer as Vaporeon, the high-octane athlete as Jolteon, the cozy hearth-keeper as Flareon. This episode aired when the world was still discovering Pokémon's depth, yet it planted seeds for how we interpret every subsequent evolution. Espeon became the wise, daylit philosopher, a sibling's nocturnal counterpart, Umbreon the brooding night watchman, Leafeon, rooted in forest moss, echoes the grounded herbalist, Glaceon, crystalline and aloof, the stoic mountain hermit, Sylveon, with her ribbons of empathy, fits right in as the nurturing artist, binding hearts like the brothers bound their family. How the different brothers represent the diverse lifestyles and philosophies tied to each evolution lingers in fan art, theories, and even official media today. They turned abstract Pokédex lore, unstable genes warped by stones, friendship, or rocks, into relatable stories. Vaporeon's fluidity challenges the rigid evolutions of old, like Bulbasaur's straight line to Venusaur. Jolteon's zap defies level-up norms, demanding a stone's instant fury. Flareon's glow warms the coldest debates, showing fire's heart beyond destruction. This episode humanized Eevee's rule-breaking, making its 8 paths feel like choices in a grand family saga, where no 2 siblings walk the same road, yet all stem from the same adaptable core. That influence rippled outward, blooming into real-world phenomena. In Japan, where Pokémon was born, Eevee's allure sparked the cultural phenomenon of Eevee Day, a beloved tradition that transforms ordinary calendars into celebrations of mutable magic every November 21st, marking the Japanese release of Gold and Silver when Friendship Evolutions first appeared. Fans across Tokyo and beyond gather for Eevee Day. Streets light up with cosplayers embodying the brothers' archetypes. Blue-haired Vaporeon enthusiasts by fountains, spiky yellow Jolteon runners sparking mock thunder waves, fiery Flareon dancers around bonfires, official events at Pokémon centers overflow with Eevee plushies, evolution method demos using safe replicas of stones and rocks, and contests where trainers share stories of their own evolution's personalities. Eevee Day's significance in Japan runs deeper than festivities. It's a nod to Eevee's role as the ultimate symbol of change in a culture that reveres harmony amid flux. Families attend, children choosing their favourite brother to mimic, while adults reflect on life's branching paths. Much like Eevee's DNA, merchandise floods markets, limited edition cards showing the brothers reunited, manga spin-offs expanding their valley tales, even shrine visits where paper Eevees are folded and set afloat on ponds, wishing for personal evolutions. This day cements Eevee as more than a Pokémon. It's a philosophy, a mirror for self-discovery, amplified by that original episode's heartfelt portrayal. In 2021, the Pokémon Company leaned in hard, releasing promos that fleshed out all 8 siblings' traits: shy Flareon, bold Jolteon, mirroring the brothers' enduring legacy. Gigantamax Eevee ties back too. It's fluffy enormity, evoking the brothers' protective huddle, a non-evolving behemoth that envelops foes like family embraces uncertainty. Fans speculate endlessly. What if a 9th brother emerged under new Gen 10 mechanics? Eevee Day fuels those fires, gatherings buzzing with theories on untapped stones or bonds. The episode's valley feels alive in these events, a testament to how one story reshaped a franchise. As we trace these cultural threads, they lead straight into the battlefields, where evolutions truly test their philosophies. Chapter 22. The competitive meta-history uncovers how these family archetypes dominated tournaments across generations, twisting metas in ways no other Pokémon family could stick around. Because the strategies that made Eevee unstoppable might just rewrite what you thought you knew about competitive dominance. Those brothers from the anime, each choosing their path with such conviction, mirrored something deeper in the Pokémon world. A reflection of how trainers have long tested Eevee's children in the unforgiving arena of competitive battling. Over the past 25 years, since the first tournaments ignited in the late 90s, evolutions have danced through metas that shifted like sand dunes, sometimes dominating, often adapting, always leaving their mark on the strategies that defined eras. Take Vaporeon, the aquatic pioneer from Generation 1. In those raw early days of Red and Blue, it was a watery behemoth, soaking up hits with its massive health pool and churning out scalding hydro pumps before foes could blink. Trainers layered it with acid armor to become an untouchable wall, shrugging off special attacks in a game where defenses were paper thin. It carried teams through the first World Championships, a reliable special tank when electric types ruled the roost. But as generations rolled on, faster threats and priority moves chipped away at its throne. By Generation 4, it faded into niche support, surfacing occasionally in rain squads, but never reclaiming that initial glory. Jolteon burst onto the scene right alongside, a lightning bolt of speed and power. Generation 1's fastest non-legendary, it blitzed opponents with Thunderbolt after Thunder Wave paralysis, paralyzing the meta itself. In Gold and Silver, it held strong as a revenge killer, its raw special attack missing steel types that emerged to counter psychics. Even into the advanced generations, Jolteon flickered in hyper-offense teams, dodging its way through hail and sandstorm with Volt Switch pivots. Yet, as base speeds crept higher and Scarfers dominated, its 90 speed cap started to feel quaint, relegating it to honourable mentions in electric-type showcases. Flareon, the fiery underdog, always burned brightest in bursts. Physically potent from the start, it hammered with Fire Blast in the special era, but its middling speed kept it from stardom. Generation 2 saw it niche as a flame wheel abuser, and later with Choice Band, it punched above its weight in physical metas. Trainers loved its hidden potential, moulding it into a wall breaker against steel behemoths. But consistency eluded it. Too slow for sweepers, not bulky enough for stalls. It smouldered as a fan pick rather than a meta staple. Then came Espeon, with the dawn of friendship evolutions in Generation 2. Psychic dominance was peaking, and Espeon rode that wave, its blazing special attack and speed outpacing foes with psychic and calm mind setups. It shredded dark weaknesses before they multiplied, starring in balanced teams through Ruby and Sapphire. But Fairy's arrival in Generation 6 cracked its mirror world. Steel and dark counters multiplied, and by the physical special split, its frailty showed. Still, it lingered as a baton pass recipient, psychic prowess echoing in support roles. Umbreon emerged as the dark sentinel of endurance, its Generation 2 debut timing perfectly with the rise of Stall. Those glowing rings weren't just aesthetic. In battle, they symbolized unbreakable defense, tanking hits with leftovers recovery, and toxic poisoning the competition. Through Generations 3 to 5, it was the king of hyper defense, pursuit trapping switch-ins and mean look, locking down threats. Even in sun-scorched uber tiers, Umbreon endured, its typing aging like fine wine against ghost and psychic swells. Only the speed creep of later gens nudged it aside, but its legacy as the ultimate sponge persists. Leafeon sprouted in Generation 4, bringing grass physical muscle to a meta-craving coverage. Leaf blade crits and swords dance setups let it carve through waters and grounds, its high attack thriving post-physical split. It shone in overheat teams, resisting fire while checking swamp at revivals. Yet, Grass's middling typing and competition from stronger blades like Kartana kept it regional favourite status. Potent in VGC doubles for Chlorophyll Sun, but rarely headlining singles ladders. Glaceon chilled the scene with ice rock precision, its special snowstorm assault peaking in Generation 4's hail comps. Blizzard accuracy near Moss Rock vibes made it a weather abuser, freezing teams solid while Mirror Coat reflected the pain. In Platinum, it walled dragons before they flew high, but Ice's frailty and fourfold weaknesses doomed it. Later gens saw sporadic freeze-dry tech against waters, a clever nod to its lore, yet it melted under priority and taunt, forever the glassy specialist. Sylveon ribboned in during Generation 6's Fairy Revolution, healers weaving support into offense. Hyper voice booms and wish passing healed squads, its bulk defying pixie expectations. It countered dragons that terrorized prior metas, starring in stall and balance through sword and shield. Even now, in Scarlet and Violet, Sylveon holds OU viability, ribbons draining life with Drain Punch sets. Fairy's resilience keeping it relevant as Terra types twist matchups. Amid this evolutionary tapestry, one strategy elevated Eevee itself above the fray, the baton pass chain. Picture Eevee as the selfless architect, its versatile move pool a canvas for boosts. Substitute up, stack Calm Mind or Swords Dance, Dragon Dance for speed, then pass those stat surges to a teammate primed to sweep. In Generation 2, it birthed the infinite loop with Ninjask. Eevee belly drums to +6 attack, passes to a scything cicada that outspeeds the world. Generation 3 honed it with Salamence recipients, turning Eevee into the ultimate setup engine. Even as Baton Pass got nerfed in later gens, clamped by Defog and Pursuit, it lives in VGC relays. Eevee's normal neutrality dodging hazards while empowering allies. This wasn't solo glory, it was team symphony. Eevee's DNA flexibility supporting entire rosters in a way no linear mon could match. Yet for all these peaks, Eevee endures as a fan favourite precisely because it's not always the apex predator. In a scene obsessed with unbroken win streaks and tier 0 tyrants, Eevee's charm lies in its accessibility, evolving on a whim, filling gaps without legendaries. Tournaments buzz with its underdog spirit, players crafting passion picks over meta slaves. Its 25-year meta odyssey proves resilience over dominance, a reminder that true power adapts, not conquers. Fans flock to it for the joy of possibility, reading squads around Evo whims, sharing war stories of Jolteon upsets or Umbreon marathon stalls. As we trace these battle scars, whispers grow about what's encoded deeper in that chaotic genome, waiting to unfold. That's where we'll venture next in Chapter 23. the future of Eevee DNA, unraveling predictions that could redefine evolutions forever. Stick around, because the mutations ahead might just change everything you thought you knew. While Eevee's lineage has fueled baton pass chains that outmaneuvered champions across 25 years of competitive battles, its true power lies not just in the forms we know, but in the genetic whispers hinting at forms yet to emerge. That unstable DNA, twisting under unseen pressures, has lain dormant since Sylveon ribboned its way into existence back in 2013. A decade-long drought now stretches across the generations, leaving fans to pore over every trailer, every leak, wondering if Generation X will finally quench that thirst with a 9th evolution. Picture the labs of theoretical Pokémon biologists, sketches pinned to walls under flickering fluorescent lights, mapping the periodic table of types onto Eevee's mutable strands. Dragon, Ghost, Poison. These gaps in the spectrum scream for completion, each one a potential key to unlocking environments Eevee's chaos hasn't touched. The radiation from stones warped it into watery grace or fiery fury early on. Friendship bent it towards psychic dawn or shadowy dusk. Rocks and ribbons pulled it into leafy verdancy or glacial chill or fairy-touched empathy. But what radiation, what bond, what hidden nook could coax a draconic surge from those irregular helices? Speculating on Generation X feels like peering into a storm cloud swollen with lightning. Will we finally see a new evolution after a decade-long drought? The patterns scream yes. Each generation layered complexity. Stones in the first, emotions in the second, places in the fourth, moves in the sixth, escalating like a symphony building to crescendo. Gigantamax Eevee in Sword and Shield gave us a taste, that colossal fluff trapping foes in suffocating warmth, but it locked evolution away, a permanent what-if. Partner Eevee followed suit, loyal but unevolving, as if the DNA held back for something grander. Now with Scarlet and Violet's open world sprawling under Paldea's sun, the stage widens. A new stone, a time-based twist with paradox Pokémon vibes, or something tied to the terrestrial phenomenon, where crystals refract types like prisms through Eevee's flesh. Fans have filled the void with visions that pulse through forums and fan art galleries, alive with colour and raw. The Drakian and Oblivion theories capture the heart of what devotees crave for the next stage of Eevee's journey. Dracon emerges first in these dreams, a serpentine behemoth with scales like forged obsidian, wings folding into a mane that Eevee's fur could plausibly thicken into, triggered perhaps by a dragon stone unearthed in ancient ruins, or level up near a meteorite crater echoing Deoxys's cosmic origins. It would coil through skies, breath weapons lancing elemental fury. No longer the underdog normal type, this form claims the dragon throne left empty among evolutions, its DNA helixes elongating into sinuous loops that mimic legendary serpents like Rayquaza. Battles would shift, Drakian shrugging off fairy weaknesses with raw power, its roar echoing the instability that birthed it, scales shimmering as they adapt mid-fight. Then shadows deepen with Oblivion, the ghostly spectre fans summon from Eevee's nocturnal potential. Umbreon already claimed dark, but Ghost beckons with Oblivion's chill, a form born from high friendship at midnight near a haunted tower, or exposure to a dusk stone infused with spectral energy. Its body fades to ethereal wisps, eyes glowing like will-o'-the-wisps, ribbons or spikes dissolving into mist that phases through attacks. Imagine the Pokédex entry. Oblivion's form arises when Eevee's DNA encounters the void between life and afterlife, mutating into a guardian of forgotten paths. Fans yearn for this duality, Drakian for aerial dominance, Oblivion for evasion and curses, rounding out Eevee's arsenal against steel, poison, even the elusive normal mirrors. These aren't whims, they're logical extensions, the drought's end mirroring how Leafeon and Glaceon arrived after years of trio-only teases. Yet whispers in the developer shadows suggest alternatives might eclipse permanent newcomers. Could Mega Evolution or terrestrialization replace the need for new permanent forms? Mega Eevee prototypes surfaced in data-mined code from years past, a megaform bloating with raw power, Z-move Aurus crackling around it before the mechanic faded. Terastallization, Paldea's glittering gimmick, already lets any Pokémon don a crystalline shell, swapping types on command, Vaporeon into fire, Jolteon into ground, shattering matchups without rewriting DNA. Why craft a fixed Dracon when Terastall Eevee could diamond harden into steel or poison spike into venomous barbs? Gigantamax hinted at this scalability. Terastall amplifies it, turning Eevee into a prism of possibilities. Purists balk, the allure of irreversible mutation that chaotic DNA, committing to one path, forged the law's poetry. Temporary shifts dilute the ritual, the stones glow hardening into lifelong scales or leaves. Still, as open-world exploration sprawls, Game Freak might pivot, letting Eevee's instability fuel endless remixing rather than singular births. The air thickens with possibility either way. Eevee Day events pulse yearly, personalities fleshed out, Larian's shy loyalty, Jolteon's spiky aggression, teasing untapped facets. Anime arcs like Chloe's wild release underscore the DNA's wild heart, seeking harmony beyond human nudge. Competitive vets, fresh from baton pass eras, salivate at meta-shattering additions. A ghost type phasing through priority moves, a dragon outspeeding Dragapult. Leaks swirl, insiders murmur of evolutionary surprises tied to Kitakami's lore or Blueberry Academy's archives. The decade drought, not neglect but gestation. Eevee's genes folding inward, awaiting the catalyst that splits rock and birth's legend. But beneath these futures lurks a theory that rewrites origins entirely. One that positions Eevee not as adapter, but ancestor. Up next, Chapter 24. The Eevee is Mew theory. Could this genetic wildcard be the mother of all Pokémon? Its evolution's mere echoes of creation itself. Drift toward that revelation as your eyelids grow heavy, while fans speculate on Generation 10, bringing us Dracon with its draconic scales or Oblivion cloaked in psychic voids. Drawing from Eevee's endless adaptability, some theorists trace that potential straight back to the dawn of Pokémon existence itself. Deep in the lore, Mew stands as the genetic progenitor, a tiny pink phantom whose DNA encodes the blueprint for every creature in the world. But what if Eevee, with its wildly unstable genes, represents humanity's boldest stab at recreating that miracle? A simplified, man-made attempt to replicate Mew's DNA. Picture the labs hidden in Kanto's underbelly, where scientists, inspired by ancient fossils and whispered myths, tinkered with Mew's elusive essence. Mewtwo's creation was brute force, a psychic powerhouse cloned through sheer ambition and betrayal. Eevee feels different, subtler, like a prototype refined over generations of trial and error. Its Pokédex entries hint at this. That irregular, jagged DNA structure, prone to mutation under stones, friendships, or mossy rocks. Not the rigid chains of a Charmander destined for Charizard, but a swirling chaos ready to reshape itself. Theorists argue this instability mirrors Mew's own boundless genome, which holds the seeds of every type, every ability, compressed into one elusive form. Humans, lacking Mew's purity, diluted it down, stripping away the raw power, the levitation, the ancient aura, to craft something stable enough for mass production, yet flexible enough to evolve on command. Mew earns its title as the ancestor of all Pokémon through sheer totality. Discovered in Guyana's jungles, or so the tales go, this mythical from Kanto can learn every move, transform into any Pokémon, slip through time itself in the anime's fever dreams. Its genes aren't just versatile, they're the source code, the primordial soup from which Arceus supposedly stirred the first sparks of life. Eevee, dubbed the Pokémon of infinite potential, echoes this on a fractured scale. 8 evolutions and counting, each a deliberate divergence from evolution's usual straight line. Vaporeon melts into water like a living ripple. Jolteon crackles with electric fury. Flareon radiates heat that singes the air. Then Espeon reads the sun's whispers. Umbreon drinks in moonlight's edge. Leafeon draws life from ancient stones. Glaceon pulls frost from breath itself. Sylveon weaves ribbons that pulse with a trainer's very heartbeat. No other Pokémon bends the rules like this. Stones for elements, bonds for night and day, proximity for grass and ice, affection laced with fairy moves. It's as if Eevee's creators programmed in these triggers, safeguards to control the replication, preventing it from exploding into Mew's untamed glory. The shared traits between Eevee and Kanto's mythical pinnacle run deeper than surface glances. Both start as normal types, unassuming vessels brimming with hidden depths. Eevee a fluffy fox kit, Mew a floating kitten sprite. Both evade capture's finality. Mewtwo needed a master ball, but Mew dances away, and partner Eevees from events like Let's Go refuse to evolve at all, locked in perpetual youth. Genetic mutability binds them tightest. Mew's transformability lets it mimic any form, while Eevee's evolutions rewrite its type entirely, flipping from neutral to water, electric, even fairy when that type reshaped the meta. In the anime, Mew's playful innocence mirrors Eevee's curious gaze, both symbols of potential untapped. Fan dissections point to size. Eevee's compact frame, Mew's diminutive hover and rarity. Mewtwo was one of a kind, but Eevee's flood labs in Celadon City churned out like prototypes awaiting perfection. This fringe theory gains traction when you layer in the shadows of Pokemon's world building. Sylph Co., those corporate alchemists behind evolution stones, pedal water, thunder, fire orbs that twist Eevee's fate, radiation mimicking Mew's exposure to elemental forces in Guyana's wilds. Bill the storage system genius, forged an Eevee early in red and blue, his PC a digital arc preserving genetic anomalies. Even the Eevee Brothers episode, with its rainbow of siblings, feels like a lab experiment gone familial, each brother embodying a controlled mutation. Theorists whisper of black market Mewtwo projects yielding Eevee as the light version. Powerful enough for trainers, safe enough not to level cities. No official canon confirms it, but the parallels taunt us. Why else would Eevee's DNA scream prototype in a world of predictable lineages? Peel back further, and the theory fractures under scrutiny, yet its allure persists. Mew floats above type charts, immune to status in some depictions, while Eevee's Evos plug every weakness but demand perfect conditions. Humanity's hand feels heavy. No wild Eevee herds roam like Pidgey flocks. Their prizes from game corners, gifts from elites. If Mew is the wild ancestor, pure and feral, Eevee is the domesticated echo, bred for versatility in a trainer's pocket. Gigantamax Eevee, with its colossal fur-trapping foes like a living blizzard, nods to Mew's transformative might, but caged, non-evolving. The infinite potential teases Mew's all-encompassing genes, yet Eevee stops short, as if its creators feared unleashing the full ancestor. These connections spark endless debates in forums lit by late-night screens, where fans map family trees linking Mew's progeny to Eevee's branches, shared cries, that high-pitched chirp masking deeper echoes, and move pools overlapping in psychic probes or barrier setups. Even colour palettes. Mew's rosy hue bleeds into Espion's dawn glow or Umbreon's lunar sheen. Kanto's myths bind them. Mew guards the planet's secrets. Eevee unlocks evolution's code. One a divine spark, the other a human sparkler, fizzing with controlled fireworks. As this theory simmers in the lore's undercurrents, pulling threads from Mew's ancient flights to Eevee's lab-born litter, it sets the stage for how the world embraced Eevee's chaos on a global scale. In our next chapter, The Year of Eevee and Beyond, we'll uncover the fan-driven phenomenon that turned this genetic enigma into a cultural juggernaut, complete with exclusive events, personality deep dives, and hints at evolution still waiting in the wings. You won't want to miss how it all exploded from theory to phenomenon. If Eevee truly holds the infinite potential to mirror Mew's ancestral DNA, then that same adaptability has made it a marketing phenomenon in our world, turning a quirky normal type into Pokemon's ultimate wildcard. By 2021, the Pokemon Company had elevated Eevee beyond just a fan favourite. It became the centerpiece of a full-scale marketing blitz, dubbing the year of Eevee, and flooding stores, apps and social feeds with its ever-shifting forms. Picture shelves groaning under waves of plushies, each evolution captured in meticulous detail. Vaporeon's sleek, aquatic shimmer catching the light like ocean spray, Jolteon's spines crackling with electric promise, Flareon's fur glowing as if fresh from an ember's embrace. Special edition cards, apparel and even themed snacks rolled out globally, with Pokémon Go events syncing evolutions to real-world biomes. Level up near a river for Vaporeon, under city lights for Umbreon. Fans chased shiny variants in mass raids, their phones buzzing through sleepless nights, while official artwork portrayed Eevee's family as a vibrant mosaic of personalities, from shy, loyal Flareon to the bold, aggressive Jolteon. This wasn't random hype, it was a deliberate push, with the Pokémon Company openly positioning Eevee as their second mascot, a versatile icon to stand shoulder to shoulder with Pikachu's eternal spark. That rivalry between Eevee and Pikachu simmered for years, but it ignited in the Let's Go series, where Eevee stole the spotlight as the cover star alongside Pikachu. Released in 2018 for the Nintendo Switch, Pokémon Let's Go Pikachu and Pokémon Let's Go Eevee flipped the script on core games, blending mobile catch mechanics with classic Kanto nostalgia. Pikachu headlined its yellow-tinted adventure, cheeks puffed in perpetual readiness. But Eevee, it became the face of boundless choice. Players picked their partner from the start, and if you chose Eevee, it arrived with exclusive Gigantamax potential, its massive, fluffy Dynamax form enveloping foes in a tidal wave of fur that trainers could only dream of in competitive play. No evolution for that powerhouse, just pure customizable might. Eevee's edge lay in its promise of transformation. Unlike Pikachu's fixed lightning rod identity, Eevee let you mold it into whatever your heart desired, breaking free from rigid paths right from Pallet Town. Want a watery companion for surfing routes? Vaporeon materializes with a splash. Craving nocturnal stealth, Umbreon emerges under the moon's glow. The game teased these possibilities early, with secret techniques tied to your starter's type, turning every playthrough into a personal saga. Sales figures whispered the verdict. Let's Go Eevee matched its sibling success, proving fans craved that what-if magic. The Pokémon Company leaned in hard, with trailers pitting fluffy Eevee against Pikachu's Zap, their mock battles going viral as players debated which mascot reigned supreme. This commercial power stems from Eevee's core allure, a Pokémon that can be anything you want it to be. In a franchise built on collection and completion, Eevee offers endless reinvention without commitment. Merchandise explodes because every fan sees themselves in one of its 8 forms, or dreams of a 9th. 2021's Blitz amplified this. Limited edition figures let you swap evolution heads. Apps simulated evolution paths based on your mood. And collaborations with brands like Build-A-Bear invited kids to craft their own fluffy hybrid. It's no accident that Eevee-themed Pokémon centers in Japan sold out in hours, or that stock art graces everything from phone cases to energy drinks. The company knows this mutability drives loyalty. Collect them all, evolve your dreams, and suddenly you're invested for life. Yet that Blitz hinted at deeper ambitions. During Eevee Day events, developers dropped lore nuggets about untapped DNA strands, fueling speculation that Gen 9 or beyond might unlock new evolutions triggered by terrestrial phenomena or paradox energies. Partner Eevees in Sword and Shield already defied norms by staying unevolvable. Their Gigantamax tails a tease of permanence amid flux. Fans dissected every promo, from animated shorts where Eevee's aura flickered with psychic hints to trading card lore echoing its genetic chaos. The Pokémon Company didn't just sell toys. They sold possibility, positioning Eevee as the bridge between Pikachu's simplicity and the franchise's sprawling complexity. As 2021 faded, the momentum carried forward, with Scarlet and Violet nodding to Eevee's adaptability through open-world freedom. Evolve anywhere, anytime, if you know the tricks. But beneath the hype, Eevee's story whispers of something poetic, a biological symphony where DNA dances to rhythms of stone, friendship, and fate. That's what will unravel in Chapter 26. Biological poetry, where the true elegance of Eevee's evolutions reveals itself in ways that might just redefine how all Pokémon life. As Eevee stepped into the spotlight of the Let's Go series, outshining even Pikachu in those sun-drenched Kanto remakes, its fluffy form masked a deeper secret, one etched into every strand of its irregularly shaped DNA. This genetic wildcard doesn't just evolve. It composes biological poetry, adapting not through rigid fate, but through the subtle cues of its world. Picture Eevee's cells humming with potential, their structure unlike any other Pokemon's, twisted, mutable, ready to reshape under the glow of a water stone's aquatic radiation, or the crackle of thunderstone lightning. Back in 1996, when Red and Green first hit shelves in Japan, players met Vaporeon, Jolteon, and Flareon, born from those elemental stones that flooded Eevee's body with targeted energies, morphing it into sleek swimmers slicing through ocean currents, spiky speedsters harnessing electric storms, or fiery guardians radiating desert heat. No single path here, no inevitable climb, from weakling to powerhouse like Charmander's fiery ascent to Charizard. Eevee chose, or was chosen by, its surroundings. By Gold and Silver in 1999, the poetry deepened. Friendship became the ink, tallied in invisible points from shared battles, soothing campsites, and tender moments under moonlight or dawn. Ibon's at night birthed Umbreon, its rings pulsing like nocturnal shadows, a defender cloaked in darkness for urban nights or moonlit wilds. Daytime loyalty summoned Espeon, psychic grace attuned to solar rhythms, or seeing threats in the light. These weren't random. They mirrored the rhythm of relationships, a quiet evolution shaped by trust. Fast forward to Diamond and Pearl in 2006, where location etched the next verses. Near a moss rock in Eterna Forest, Leafeon emerged, leaves unfurling like spring's first breath, vines drawing strength from earthy vibes. By the ice rock's chill in Snowpoint, Glaceon crystallized, diamonds of frost forming armor against blizzards. Then X and Y in 2013 unveiled Sylveon, ribbons of fairy magic weaving from affection hearts, two or more, while knowing a move like baby doll eyes, tying evolution to emotional resonance amid the fairy's triumphant debut. Each trigger shattered norms. Stones for raw radiation, time for cosmic cycles, places for territorial attunement, bonds for heartfelt pacts. Gigantamax Eevee in Sword and Shield locked some in fluffy permanence, fur ballooning to smother foes, a reminder that even poetry can pause. Partner Eevees too stay unevolved, eternal companions defying change. Pokédex scribes whisper of this chaos as Eevee's core, DNA so pliable it mutates perfectly to harsh habitats, from watery abysses to psychic voids. In the anime, Chloe's Eevee embodies this flux, rejecting stones for something truer, released to the wild for self-discovery, its instability a badge of untamed potential. No linear script binds it. Every form whispers adaptation's art. This is the narrative Eevee, recast as a metaphor for human growth and choice. Born unformed, we face crossroads. Fire's passion or water's flow, night's introspection or day's ambition. Like a young adult pondering career's blaze or academia's spark, or love's quiet nurture versus adventure's wild call. Eevee doesn't march to one drum. It branches, each evolution a life path forged by decisions, environments, bonds. Stability would doom it to mediocrity. Instead, multiplicity thrives. And here's why that so-called instability is actually its greatest strength. In a world of predictable evolutions, level up, stone smash, done. Eevee's chaos ensures survival. Floods? Vaporeon glides through. Storms? Jolteon surges ahead. Darkness encroaches. Umbreon lurks unseen. It doesn't fight the world. It becomes its poetry, DNA rewriting to fit, outlasting rigid kin who falter in mismatched realms. Fans speculate untapped forms, Drakeon for skies, Oblivion for voids, because this mutability hints at endless resilience, a genetic symphony conducting victory from discord. Philosophically, a creature adapting perfectly to its environment probes destiny's core. Does nature dictate form, or does form claim nature? Eevee suggests neither. It's symbiosis, pure potential mirroring our own existential flux. In forests, tundras, or hearts, It evolves not despite change but through it, questioning if life's true power lies in fixed identity or fluid response. Are we too evolutions in waiting our instabilities, doubts, pivots, passions, sculpting souls suited to whatever wilds we wander? Gigantamax fur enveloping battlefields, year of Eevee events unveiling shy Flareons and fierce Jolteons, all celebrate this dance. Yet beneath the fanfare, Eevee's lore pulses with a final guarded stanza. That brings us to chapter 27, the ultimate truth revealed, where we unearth the one revelation that ties every evolution's thread into Pokemon's grandest enigma. You won't want to miss what hides in Eevee's origin. Stick around as we peel back the veil. That instability in Eevee's DNA, the very thing we've celebrated as its poetic strength, isn't random chaos. It's the blueprint of something far grander, a force woven into the fabric of every Pokemon that has ever graced this world. Consider the Pokédex entries that whisper of Eevee's irregular genetic structure, shaped like a puzzle refusing to lock into place. Exposed to the shimmering radiation of a waterstone, its cells twist and reform into Vaporeon. Fins slicing through water like liquid silk, scales glistening under moonlit waves. A thunderstone unleashes Jolteon, fur crackling with electric fury, bolts dancing across its body in a storm of raw potential. Firestone births Flareon, flames curling from its mane like a living inferno, each radiating in waves that warp the air around it. These aren't mere adaptations, they're symphonies of mutation, each one defying the rigid paths most Pokemon follow. Level up, stone, or fade into obscurity. But as generations unfolded, the rules shattered further. In Gold and Silver, released on November 21st, 1999, friendship became the catalyst. Day breaks for Espeon, its gemstone forehead, pulsing with psychic dawnlight, reading thoughts like ripples on a still pond. Night falls for Umbreon, rings glowing with an eerie crimson pulse, shadows coiling around it like loyal spectres. No stone, no level. Just the quiet bond between trainer and Pokemon, measured in hidden affection points climbing to 255 through battles fought side by side, berries shared in silence, steps taken under starlit skies. Diamond and Pearl in 2006 pushed boundaries again, with location itself as the trigger. Near the Moss Rock in Eterna Forest, Leafeon emerges, leaves rustling like whispers of ancient woods, vines twisting with verdant life. The Ice Rock in Snowpoint City chills the air into Glaceon, crystals forming jagged armor that sparkles like fractured winter stars. Proximity to these primal stones infuses Eevee's genome with environmental essence, bypassing traditional methods entirely. Then X and Y in 2013 introduced Sylveon, ribbons flowing like fairy silk, born not from stone or place, but from knowing a fairy-type move, and that same deep friendship, hearts aligning in affection. Each evolution peels back another layer, revealing how Eevee's DNA doesn't obey. It redefines obedience, adapting to stones, radiating elemental fury, cycles of sun and moon, rocky outcrops humming with power, even the emotional resonance of a ribbon dance. Gigantamax Eevee from Sword and Shield locks this potential in place, fur exploding into a colossal cloud that smothers foes, yet forever barring evolution. A deliberate permanence amid endless change. Partner Eevee echoes this, a faithful companion untouched by transformation. These exceptions aren't glitches, they're echoes of a deeper design, synthesizing all the lore we've explored, from competitive metas where baton pass chains evolutions into unbeatable relays, to fan theories linking it to Mew's infinite DNA, to its rise as a mascot rivaling Pikachu in the Let's Go era. Eevee isn't just a Pokemon, it is the physical manifestation of the evolution concept itself, the living embodiment of change encoded into the world's core. This brings us to the final revelation regarding Eevee's origin and its role in the balance of the Pokemon world. Deep in the lore, before the first games etched February 27th, 1996, Eevee emerged not from some forgotten egg in a lab or wild thicket, but as the primordial architect. Picture the Pokemon world's genesis. Arceus shapes reality from plates of creation, Dialga commands time, Alkia space, Giratina the distortion. Yet evolution, the relentless drive for every Bulbasaur to bloom into Venusaur, every Squirtle to tower as Blastoise, needed a guardian. Eevee was forged in that instant, its genome a master key, unstable by design to hold the spectrum of all possibilities. It breaks the rules, because it is the rule maker of the Pokémon genome. While other species follow linear chains, locked evolutions dictated by nature's strict code, Eevee's chaotic strands serve as the template. Every stone's radiation mimics the adaptive surge in its cells. Friendship, a reflection of how bonds accelerate mutation in the wild. Locations like Moss Rock, environmental pressures Eevee was built to harness first. Its 8 forms, and whispers of more, like the Fandream Dracon or Oblivion, aren't outliers. They're the prototypes ensuring balance. Without Eevee, evolutions stagnate. The world grows rigid, types clash. Without innovation, Fairy emerges without a herald. Chloe's Eevee in the anime, released to the wild for self-discovery, embodies this. Too potent for hasty choice, destined to wander until the perfect path reveals itself. In the anime's vast tapestry, Eevee defies stones that warp others instantly, its form shimmering undecided, a vessel too pure for coercion. Pokédex scribes call it the genetic Pokémon, but that's the veil. Truly, it's the genome sovereign, its instability the spark that ignites every chain reaction across Sinnoh's peaks, Kanto's labs, Galar's Dynamax dens. Fan events like Eevee Day celebrate this. Personalities etched in each evolution. Flareon's shy loyalty mirroring the warmth of choice. Jolteon's aggression the fury of unchecked potential, yet all trace back to the source. This truth ripples outward. Mewtwo's cloned rage stems from forced evolution, but Eevee, it chooses, balances light and shadow, water and flame, ensuring no type dominates eternally. The Pokémon world teeters on adaptation. Eevee is the fulcrum. As this revelation settle like mist over a sleeping forest, prepare yourself for Chapter 28, a legacy of infinite potential, where we'll uncover what untapped evolutions still slumber in Eevee's code, and how they might reshape everything forever. Eevee stands not merely as a Pokémon, but as the living embodiment of evolution itself, a genetic enigma woven into the very fabric of the Pokémon world, balancing chaos and harmony in ways no other creature can. Its origins, shrouded in the primordial mists of adaptation, hint at a design far beyond random mutation, a deliberate spark of infinite possibility, echoing the ancestral whispers of Mew, while defying every rigid law that governs the rest of the Pokédex. This boundless potential is what cements Eevee's place as the franchise's most cherished mystery, a puzzle that has captivated trainers, theorists, and dreamers for nearly 3 decades. Picture the first time you encountered it, in those pixelated wilds of Kanto, its fur shimmering with an otherworldly instability, as if the game's code itself was alive and rewriting its own rules. Unlike the steadfast path of a Bulbasaur blooming into Venusaur or a Squirtle hardening into Blastoise, Eevee's DNA dances on the edge of transformation, responding not to levels alone, but to the raw pulse of stones that radiate elemental fury, the warmth of friendship forged in battles under the sun or moon, the whisper of ancient rocks in forgotten groves, or the affinity of a fairy-touched move humming through its veins. Each evolution, Vaporeon gliding through aquatic depths with scales that refract light like liquid sapphire, Jolteon crackling with electric fury that bends storms to its will, Flareon exhaling flames hot enough to rival volcanic hearts, is a testament to this versatility. A branch on a family tree that refuses to straighten. Yet it's the unknowns that truly ensnare us, the untapped strands of that chaotic helix waiting to unfurl. Why does a partner Eevee or Gigantamax form? Lock away its evolutions forever, preserving the base form as a fluffy colossus of potential rather than letting it shift. In Sword and Shield, that Gigantamax Eevee erupts into a towering cloud of fur, enveloping foes in a soft yet suffocating embrace, its power drawn not from change but from amplified stasis, a deliberate counterpoint to its evolutionary frenzy. Fans pore over Pokédex entries, dissecting how radiation from water stones warps its cells into hydrophilic perfection, or how nighttime friendship floods it with dark-type shadows for Umbreon's eerie resilience. These aren't just mechanics, they're lore poetry, inviting endless speculation. Is Eevee a relic from a time before Arceus stabilized the world? A bridge to legendary adaptability? Theories swirl like mist around Ecriteek's bell tower. Drakion for dragon types, born of rare scales and thunderous tempests. Oblivion, a ghostly veil from spectral bonds at midnight. Each hypothesis pulls at the threads, revealing how Eevee mirrors our own lives. Choices shaping destiny, instability birthing strength. This allure endures because Eevee doesn't resolve its secrets, it multiplies them, generation after generation. From the stone simplicity of 1996 to the affection heart mechanics of X and Y in 2013, every edition breaks precedents, fueling art, cosplay, and midnight forums where trainers debate if a 9th-10th evolution lurks in the code. It's the Pokémon that evolves with us, its mystery deepening as the franchise does. Shy Flareon loyal to its pack, aggressive Jolteon charging into fray, Sylveon ribbons weaving bonds unbreakable. In the anime, Chloe's Eevee wanders wild, rejecting stones for self-chosen paths, embodying that core truth. Evolution isn't forced, it's discovered. No other Pokémon holds this mirror to our potential, making Eevee the eternal riddle we return to, beloved for its refusal to be solved. As we gaze toward the next 25 years, Eevee's legacy promises even wilder horizons. Imagine Generation 10 or beyond, where terrestrial phenomena might crystallize new forms. Perhaps a crystalline Prismavion refracting all types, or a Paradox variant echoing ancient futures with temporal shards. The Pokémon Company, crowning it Year of Eevee in 2021, positions it as Pikachu's shadowy twin, starring in Let's Go titles, where its evolutions parade across Switch screens. Gigantamax was just the prelude. Terrestrial Eevee could shimmer with 8-fold gems, each hue unlocking a hidden lineage. Fan events will swell, theories evolve into canon. Maybe a sound-based evolution from resonant crystals, or a steel form forged in metallic friendship under auroras. With Scarlet and Violet's open worlds, location triggers could multiply. Evolutions tied to biomes, climates, even player-chosen narratives. Eevee's DNA, that beautiful chaos, holds room for dozens more, each defying rules yet honouring the core mystery. The franchise, now a global behemoth, will lean harder on this adaptability, perhaps unveiling origins in a core series remake or spin-off, delving into genetic labs where scientists chase its secrets, luring game and myth. And so, we draw this 4.5-hour odyssey through the chaotic, beautiful DNA of the evolution Pokémon to a gentle close. From Kanto's stones to Paldea's possibilities, we've traced every mutation, every rule shattered, every whisper of what might come. Eevee doesn't end, it transforms, inviting you to carry its potential into your dreams tonight. Thank you for journeying with me. Rest well, and may your own evolutions be as infinite. What did you think of this journey? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If this changed your perspective or taught you something new, consider subscribing for more mind-expanding content. And if you know someone who would find this as fascinating as you did, share it with them. These are the kind of conversations that matter.